Chapter 89. Shen Dian had raised the price so much in one go that it far exceeded the price of the 4th grade spiritual sword set. The auction had entered the climax earlier than expected. I bid 18,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Lu Outyen pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, 20,000. Shen Dian looked at Lu Outyen's private room with disdain and quickly called out a high price. His Shen family's wealth was comparable to a country's. The reason he stayed in the hall was to flaunt his wealth. 22,000, 25,000. The nouveau riche did not use spiritual stones as rations and went straight to the point. Lu Outyen's face darkened. The empire's royal prestige could not be disgraced. How could he let a family with only money and no strength humiliate him? The Shen family's guards were powerful, but the Shen family's own strength was very weak. There had not been a decent genius in hundreds of years. He disdained and respected such a family. Yi Qinghan shook his head and stopped Lu Outyen from continuing to bid. It was unwise to waste a large number of spiritual stones just for face. Forget it, I appreciate your kindness. This 4th grade spiritual sword set is not worth that much. Besides, I don't need such things to change Meng Shi's physique. Yi Qinghan said lightly. It's okay. I can give this spiritual sword set to Meng Shi. I don't need this spirit-gathering formation. Qin Shi Huang obediently took out the metal sword box on his back and handed it to Yi Mengshi. Yi Mengshi took out the spiritual sword and was reluctant to part with it. Yi Qinghan did not stop her. After all, the zither immortal crimson demon physique was already very terrifying. There was no need for a 4th grade spiritual sword set to change her physique. Jian Qinshue's eyes glowed, but it quickly disappeared. She had benefited a lot from following Yi Qinghan these days. If Yi Qinghan gave her something else, she would feel bad. Is there anyone offering a higher price? If not, this 4th grade spiritual sword set will belong to Master Shin. Wang Xiaoming smiled and was very satisfied with the price. In the end, the spiritual sword set's ownership was settled. Shen Dian got it and got the beauty. This caused some people to be envious and jealous. The second treasure is the 4th grade demon-slaying green dragon saber. It was the weapon of the strongest person in Owl Falling Star, the Green Dragon Taoist. The Green Dragon Taoist was a second-step powerhouse in the Fate Palace. This monster-slaying Azure Dragon saber still contained Taoist Qin Long's murderous aura. It could kill enemies and intimidate all beasts and spirits. The starting price is 50,000 middle spiritual crystals. Everyone on Owl Falling Star knew about the Azure Dragon Taoist master. He was in existence with great merit. He guarded the Demon Valley continent and killed countless ferocious beasts of the Demon Valley continent. He had brought great calamities to Owl Falling Star several times. If he had not beaten the ferocious beasts of the Demon Valley continent to the point where they could not raise their heads, Owl Falling Star might have been even more broken. The Owl Fall Star was divided into 2 continents. One was called the Demon Valley, and the other was called the Owl Fall continent. Humans naturally lived on the Owl Fall continent. The powerful beasts lived on the Demon Valley continent, separated by the Demon Valley mountain range. With this as the boundary, they had been separated for thousands of years. So it's the Green Dragon Taoist's demon-slaying Green Dragon Saber. This weapon is so vicious that it's comparable to an ordinary 5th grade saber. It's very difficult for people to use it. That's right. I heard that after the Azure Dragon founder died in battle, this blade went through 4 owners. In the end, all of them died violently and their corpses were left in the wilderness. It was as if there was a curse. Selling it at such a high price, who would buy it? There was a lot of discussion. They all felt that the seller of this weapon was too expensive. Dear Madam Auctioneer, please take out the demon-slaying Green Dragon Saber for us to admire. After all, it's the saber of our Owl Falling Star's hero. If it's authentic and no one is willing to sell it, I'm willing to pay 50,000 for it to be my collection. Shen Dian said arrogantly. A mid-grade Green Dragon Saber that was worth 50,000. He wanted to collect it just like that. As expected of the Shen family's patriarch who was as rich as a country. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. He could not help but be interested in this saber. His heavy manic saber was too eye-catching. Outside of Owl Falling Star, Anyone with a bit of knowledge could recognize it. If the demon-slaying green dragon saber was good, he could consider using it. This saber's vicious aura is too strong. Everyone be careful. Wang Xiaoming's face was solemn. She turned sideways and gestured for 4 bare-chested men behind her to carry a 2-meter-long black iron box onto the auction stage. The iron box was sealed by an array, but it still exuded a cold and ruthless aura that made people shudder. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and stared at the iron box. Looking at the strenuous appearance of these people, he estimated that the weight of this saber should be about the same as the heavy manic saber, or maybe even heavier. Open the seal. Wang Xiaoming hid far away. Her physical body could not withstand the vicious aura of the green dragon saber. Everyone back off. A powerful expert of the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm walked out from the backstage of the auction house and shattered the seal outside the iron box with one palm. Boom, whoosh, a gloomy and terrifying cold aura rushed out, breaking through the dome of the auction house and shooting straight into the sky. The ruthless killing intent swept out in all directions and surged out. The people in the hall retreated one after another, their faces pale. Those of the Bitter Sea realm who were slightly weaker coughed up blood and were sent flying. Hundreds of existences of the 8th star of the Bitter Sea realm and above knelt on the ground, as if they were facing an ancient demon, unable to resist. The expert of the Grotto Heaven realm also did not feel good. His expression changed slightly, and he mobilized the true qi around his body to protect his soul. He took 3 steps back before he could stabilize himself. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed, staring at the iron box, his fingertips constantly tapping on the table to ease the excitement in his heart. This saber is not a 4th-grade spirit saber. Even if it was soaked in the blood of countless fierce beasts, it would not be so fierce. And this saber is clearly suppressed by something, otherwise it would be even more terrifying. Yi Qinghan instantly determined that this was not the demon-slaying green dragon saber. Everyone, do you still want to see the true body of the saber? Huang Xiaoming's face was pale. Even if she hid far away, she was still frightened by the cold aura. Look! A hoarse voice exploded in everyone's ears like a clap of thunder, but no one could tell where it came from. Lu Outyin glanced at Yi Qinghan. He did not know that Yi Qinghan used a saber, but he could see that Yi Qinghan was very nervous at the moment, as if he was looking forward to something. He could give me the 5th-grade Great Reincarnation Sword technique so casually, would he care about this 4th-grade Spirit Saber? Lu Outyin secretly said to himself, but did not ask. A strong evil aura filled the auction hall. Some people were so shocked that their lips were dry, and their eyes were dull. They were all frightened by the Azure Dragon Taoist weapon, and did not realize that the power of this saber was far beyond other 4th-grade Spirit Sabers. Even if this 4th-grade Azure Dragon Saber had experienced countless battles, it would not have such an aura. The expert of the Grotto Heaven realm opened the iron box from the side, and an arrogant aura burst out, as if it had experienced thousands of years. The dark saber emitted a cold light, and the shape of the saber was indeed a bit like a dragon. Its aura was restrained, and it was more eye-catching when it was not hidden. It was very ordinary. Other than the gloomy evil aura and the aura of vicissitudes, it was indeed very similar to a 4th-grade spirit saber. However, many people attributed the aura of this saber to the demonic beasts that the Azure Dragon Taoist had killed in the Demon Valley, and did not think too much about it. Yi Qinghan stared at the saber hilt, which was about half a meter long. It was dim without any light, and there was nothing special about it. The saber hilt emitted a faint pressure, which was restrained and pure. Without a strong soul spirit, one would not be able to sense it. Bone of a demonic dragon. The saber hilt is made from the bone of a demonic dragon. This saber is an ancient war weapon, the demonic dragon saber. It might be above the 6th grade. This saber is well concealed by the outer packaging, which is why people misunderstood it as a 4th-grade spirit saber. Yi Qinghan's heartbeat sped up, but his appearance was still calm. Qin Shihuang lightly plucked a string, and the room was unexpectedly silent. However, Yi Qinghan's body trembled, and his chaotic soul gradually calmed down. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Shihuang and pulled her to his side. He whispered, Can you feel the internal structure of the saber hilt? I can't see through it, but I can feel a very strong pressure from the inside of the saber hilt. It should not be made of ordinary materials. I can feel that it is full of vitality, like the bones of some ancient creatures. Qin Shihuang said softly. Yi Qinghan nodded. With Qin Shihuang's confirmation, it seemed like his soul spirit was not wrong. This was indeed the ancient demonic dragon saber. If this saber was auctioned in the Xiaolong region, not to mention 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber, even 500,000 high-grade spirit saber wouldn't be able to buy it. It might even cause supreme experts to fight over it. Brother Yi is interested in this saber? Lu Outyen wanted to do Yi Qinghan a favor and decided to buy it for 50,000 spirit saber for him. Yes, I will buy it. If it is not enough, you can lend it to me. I will compensate you with other things. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan's words were reasonable because Lu Ning was also interested in this saber. Although she couldn't tell what grade the saber was, she knew that it was not ordinary. Just as everyone was feeling disgusted, an old man walked out from the back of the auction house and sealed the metal box with force. He used an array to seal the box and brought it to the back. The auction starts now. 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber. Each bid must not be lower than 1,000 middle-grade spirit saber. Huang Xiaoming squeezed out a smile and said slowly, I will keep it. I will pay 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber to comfort the Qing Long Taoist spirit in heaven. Shen Dian pretended to be dignified and said in a deep voice. Chapter 90. Shen Dian pretended to be elegant, making people think that he was in awe of his ancestors. He took the initiative to bid, but he didn't know that he was just trying to attract attention. Lu Ning sat up straight and looked down at the auction house. She said coldly, I bid 100,000 mid-grade. The clear and cold voice resounded in the auction house, silencing it instantly. Even Shen Dian was stunned. He thought that no one would bid, but someone suddenly jumped out and doubled the price. Shen Dian looked at the fourth floor, but he couldn't see anyone. He only knew that it was a young woman with a pleasant voice. In terms of wealth, Shen Dian had never lost. I bid 150,000 mid-grade. Shen Dian shouted without hesitation. He didn't know who he was talking to. The crowd couldn't help but gasp. 150,000 mid-grade for a useless saber. She really didn't treat spiritual crystals as money. 200,000 mid-grade. The third voice for the saber appeared, and the bidding was just as crazy. It increased the price by 50,000 at once. Shen Dian was rich, but he was a little stupid. He didn't know what was on the fourth floor. His female companion wasn't stupid. She whispered in his ear, the Fate Palace mirror is on the fourth floor. Don't provoke it. The Fate Palace mirror was an ancestor of the founding emperor of a country. Their identity, status, and strength could crush the Shen family 10 times over. Fate Palace mirror? Shen Dian trembled. There were only a few of them on Al Fall Planet. If he offended them, no amount of spiritual crystals would be enough to invite someone of the same level to fight with a Fate Palace mirror. Shen Dian gave up immediately, but Lu Ning wouldn't. Lu Ning raised the price and attracted the attention of the old monsters. They looked at each other and began to talk secretly. A direct descendant from a fifth-rank family should have good taste. Is the Demon Slayer Green Dragon Saber so attractive that she's fighting so crazily for it? Do you have any clues? Ancient Lulan founding ancestor Lu Patian frowned and asked. No, this is indeed the Azure Dragon Saber of the Azure Dragon founder. There's nothing special about it. It weighs more than 1,000 pounds and is suitable for a body refiner like the Azure Dragon founder. It's already difficult for us to hold it. Why would we need such a saber? Dongfang Yu of the Eastern Empire shook his head. He felt that this saber wasn't worth so much and wasn't prepared to sell it. Out of the 5 Fate Palaces, 2 of them had already expressed their stance. Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan had fought it out for 500,000 mid-grade Fate Palaces. The one bidding on the second floor seems to be the royal family of Lulan, right? Brother Lulan, are also interested in this saber? The first governor of the state capital of Qing, Tangxing, looked at the room on the second floor where Lu Patian was fighting with Lu Ning. He was suspicious of Lu Patian. While the 5 Fate Palace realm warriors were discussing, Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan were in a heated battle. However, the amount and speed of the bids were decreasing. They were all guessing how much the other party was willing to pay for the saber. Lu Ning stood up slowly and walked to the corridor. She looked down at the second floor and found the room that was bidding. She saw Yi Qinghan's side profile from the window and realized that Yi Qinghan was also looking at her. His eyes were as calm as still water. She couldn't help but feel surprised when he looked at her without the disgust between the bidders. He's a stranger. I've never seen him before. He doesn't have any hostility towards me, but why can't I feel any hostility towards him? Lu Ning whispered to herself. Looking at his side profile, her heart began to beat faster. No matter how much she tampered with her memories, she couldn't change the throbbing in the depths of her soul. Although Lu Ning had forgotten about Yi Qinghan, she couldn't forget the persistence of her heart. 600,000. Yi Qinghan's voice was low as he continued to raise the price. Lu Ning hesitated for a moment before shouting out a higher price. She raised the price to 620,000. Can he also discover the wonders of this saber? He's willing to raise the price so high. Judging from his attitude, he's determined to get it. Lu Ning was ready to let go and do Yi Qinghan a favor. 630,000. Yi Qinghan raised the price without hesitation. Lu Ning was silent for a moment and stopped raising the price. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, a rough and old voice resounded in the auction house. I'll bid 650,000. Tang Sheng finally broke the silence and called out the highest price. Huang Xiaoming was shocked. The price of 630,000 had exceeded her expectations. She didn't expect a third person to bid for the saber. Moreover, it was a Fate Palace realm. Would Lu Ning give up? 670,000. Lu Ning raised the price without hesitation. 680,000. For the powerhouses and Lu Ning, this amount of spiritual crystals was a lot, but it wasn't enough to hurt their wallets. 690,000. 700,000. Dongfang Yu also raised the price. A fourth person joined in the bidding frenzy. Spiritual crystals were nothing. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. He didn't expect these old monsters to make a move and raise the price so high. Even if he invested all the 500,000 he borrowed from Lu Outyen, it still wouldn't be enough. Brother Yi, why do you insist on this saber? In my opinion, the price of this saber has already been raised to a very high position. It's not worth it. Lu Outyen looked at the old monsters joining in the bidding and frowned. You don't have to worry about that. Just tell me how many spiritual crystals you can borrow. I'll compensate you with rank 5 martial arts techniques. Attack type, speed type, defense type. Pick whatever you want. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. These rank 5 martial arts techniques couldn't be sold and he didn't dare to sell them. He could only trade them with Lu Outyen privately. Although the price was low, it was safe. I can withdraw 800,000. Any more and it will cause a deficit in the Lulan treasury. I can't promise any more. Lu Outyen was helpless. With these old monsters raising the price, 800,000 might not be enough. 800,000, Yi Qinghan frowned. He had less than 200,000. With the low-grade spiritual crystals, he could round it up to 1 million. Whether he could buy the ancient Devil Dragon saber or not depended on this. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan shouted. The entire auction house fell silent. Even the Fate Palace elites couldn't help but gasp. 1 million was equivalent to the annual income of an ancient country. Even the ancient Lulan kingdom had to consider for a long time to use such a large amount of money. The Fate Palace realm elites didn't lack money, but money shouldn't be squandered like this. Moreover, they only thought that the saber's value might be high because of Yi Qinghan and Lu Ning's crazy bidding. They wanted to buy it and study it. They could accept a low price, but if the price was too high, wouldn't they go crazy if they bought a piece of junk? Dongfang Yu, Tang Sheng, and the rest looked at Lu Padian, trying to figure out who was in the private room of ancient Lulan. Brother Lu, are you still trying to hide it? Even the emperor of the Lulan kingdom would have to think about it for a long time, right? Dongfang Yu asked. I really don't know. If I knew there was something fishy about this saber, would I still be here? I would have bid for it long ago, Lu Patian replied helplessly. Lu Ning clenched her fists. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals was not a small amount. The Lu family wasn't a mining company. Moreover, she was here for the ancient dragon bone. She only thought that there was something fishy about the saber and that it might be worth a lot, but she didn't know its true value. If she was wrong and spent 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals to buy a grade 4 combat saber back to the Shaolong region, she would be a laughingstock. However, she wasn't willing to give up just like that. She looked at the old monsters behind her and wanted to see what they thought. 1 million isn't a small amount. We have to see if the bidder has so many spiritual crystals. If he doesn't, wouldn't we be cheated? Tang Sheng looked at Huang Xiaoming on the stage and asked her to check if Yi Qinghan's assets could support his bid. The auction house couldn't refuse a request from a Fate Palace realm expert to check the amount of money the bidder had. However, they had to be careful when it came to such a large amount of money. Alright, I'll check it myself. The auction is temporarily suspended. Please keep quiet, Huang Xiaoming stared at the crowd and said in a low voice. The crowd was very respectful. Even if they agreed, they were very quiet. However, many of them were guessing the identity of the person in the private room on the second floor. That person was obviously not Lu Aoyan. It was impossible for Lu Aoyan to pay such a high price for a saber. Huang Xiaoming was dressed in a white robe. She leaped into the air and appeared on the second floor at the door of Yi Qinghan's private room. Knock knock. After 2 crisp knocks on the door, Huang Xiaoming said calmly, "The auction house would like to check if you have sufficient funds. Please open the door for verification. Please forgive us if we've disturbed you." Lu Aoyan stood up leisurely. His strong body emitted a faint royal aura. He waved his hand and opened the door. Looking at the peerless rank 5 auctioneer, he performed the royal etiquette and said calmly, "Welcome, Fairy Huang." Huang Xiaoming was stunned when she saw Lu Aoyan. When she stepped into the room, she saw a bunch of strangers in the room. They weren't important figures of the royal family. When she saw Yi Qinghan, she was shocked by the vicissitudes of life on his body. When she saw Qin Shi Huang and Jian Chenxue, her eyes were filled with shock. Jian Chenxue was as cold as ice and as pure as a lily. She was extremely noble. As for Qin Shi Huang, Huang Xiaoming felt that she lacked vocabulary. A rank 5 auctioneer with a glib tongue could turn black into white. However, she didn't know how to describe Qin Shi Huang. When she looked at Yi Mingxi, her eyes flashed and she took 3 steps back. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. A 5-year-old bitter sea realm expert. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Huang Xiaoming was extremely shocked. She couldn't understand why she had heard of such a combination before. "Hi, beautiful sister." Yi Mingxi raised her small hand and waved, leaving Huang Xiaoming completely speechless. "Cough cough, little sister, hello?" Huang Xiaoming took a deep breath and adjusted her state of mind. She looked at Yi Qinghan again and asked seriously, "Sir, are you the one who bid 1 million middle grade?" "Yes. This Jiankun ring has 190,000 middle grade pieces. Low grade and some elixirs can be exchanged for 10,000 middle grade pieces. The Lulan Crown Prince will lend me 800,000 middle grade pieces, which is 1 million. You can check it out." Yi Qinghan threw the Jiankun ring to Huang Xiaoming and said calmly, "That's right, I will lend him 800,000 middle grade pieces with my identity as the Lulan Crown Prince. If Yi Qinghan can't take out 1 million middle grade pieces, I'm willing to buy the Azure Dragon Saber for 1 million middle grade pieces." Lu Aoyan gritted his teeth and said. Chapter 91. The auction house was eerily quiet. Everyone lifted their heads to look at the second floor, waiting for Huang Xiaoming to appear. They wanted to know if someone was willing to bid 1 million mid-grade spirit stones for the Demon Slayer Azure Dragon Saber. Shen Dian had completely given up. He wanted to buy the Azure Dragon Saber purely for his collection and to flaunt his status. He would never collect the ancient Devil Dragon Saber if he had to pay 1 million for it. However, at this moment, some people had developed a strong interest in the Devil Dragon Saber. Zero Chen was one of them. He was the #1 person among the younger generation and was titled the Ancient Sword King. He wielded the broken dragon saber and had a murderous aura that could withstand the murderous aura of the devil dragon saber. Most importantly, he knew that the bidder was Yi Qinghan. Subconsciously, he felt that the azure dragon saber might be worth a lot and decided to take a gamble. However, Zero Chen and the others might not be the ones who were most interested in the saber. At the corner of the hall, there was a man who was about 1.8 meters tall. He wore a black battle robe and a bamboo hat that covered his waist. He had a cold aura, like a saber that was in deep slumber. Once it was awakened, it would be enough to shatter the mountains and shatter the rivers. He had been sizing up the ancient devil dragon saber from the moment it appeared. He had not participated in the bidding until now, but that did not mean that he would remain silent. Now, all they had to do was wait for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was the fiercest when it came to bidding. Once he ran out of money, the ancient demon dragon saber would drop back to 50,000 and bid again. As for Yi Qinghan, he would be treated as a props to deliberately raise the price. He would then be suppressed by the auction house. Do you really have that many spiritual crystals? Are you kidding us? I don't think so. The people in the private room are either rich or respectable. No one is stupid. If you don't have the money after bidding such a high price, the entire owl falling star would be offended. I don't understand. This saber has such a strong murderous aura and it weighs more than 500 kilograms. Only a Life Palace Realm powerhouse can use it, right? Moreover, even a Life Palace Realm powerhouse can't wield such a weapon. It's not worth that much. Many people were speechless by the price of the Azure Dragon Saber and discussed it softly. In the private room on the second floor, Huang Xiaoming sorted out all of Yi Qinghan's finances. Knowing that he only had 1 million yuan left, she reminded him, "Young Master Yi, if anyone raises the price again, you can't bid anymore. Otherwise, the auction house may take compulsory measures against you." Hold on. You are a grade 5 auctioneer. Help me appraise a peak grade 4 offensive secret technique. Give me a price, and I will continue to raise the price. If you don't have the money, then use a grade 4 secret technique, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. He was determined to obtain the Devil Dragon Saber. Top rank 4? A shocked expression finally appeared on Huang Xiaoming's calm face. If it was a grade 4 secret skill, the starting price would be more than 1 million mid-grade. After all, the secret skills cultivated by the powerful Life Palace level powerhouses were only at the intermediate or beginner grade 4. So far, the highest level secret skill on the Owlfall planet was an advanced grade 4 secret skill. Mr. Yi, are you sure you have a top grade 4 secret technique? Are you sure you want to sell it? Huang Xiaoming asked. Black Moon Technique, Mystic Bone Dao Heart, Moon Hook, Heaven Dragon and Earth Tiger, break Martial 8 Desolates. Borrow the Black Moon's Yin and Yang forces to reach the 9 Serenities and Sea of Qi. Once the Black Moon is unleashed, the enemy will be injured from 1,000 miles away. Yi Qinghan whispered and explained the first part of the Black Moon technique. Every word shocked Huang Xiaoming. Even if an ordinary person knew about this mental cultivation technique, they would find it difficult to understand. It was not a powerful secret technique at all. However, as a grade 5 auctioneer, how could Huang Xiaoming not know a top grade 4 secret technique? Isn't the Black Moon technique the secret technique of the Shaolong region's grade 4 sect, the Black Moon sect thousands of years ago? Legend has it that it is a powerful martial technique that can allow one to enter the Tao Lord realm. Unfortunately, the Black Moon sect was uprooted overnight and the Black Moon technique was lost. Huang Xiaoming was knowledgeable and asked in shock. Yes, it is indeed that secret technique. Appraise it and tell me how much it is worth, Yi Qinghan asked calmly. You are? Huang Xiaoming was extremely shocked. The Black Moon technique had disappeared for thousands of years and now it had appeared in the hands of a young man. The value of this secret technique far exceeded that of the saber in her heart. Yi Qinghan had actually sold the Black Moon technique for the Demon Dragon saber. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Besides, I don't necessarily need to auction this secret technique. You just need to give me a starting price. Yi Qinghan interrupted Huang Xiaoming's words and said coldly. A top grade 4 secret technique has never appeared in the history of Owl Falling Star, let alone auctioning it. However, it appeared in Xiaolong region and was auctioned for 50,000 upper spirit crystals, which is equivalent to 5 million middle spirit crystals. This kind of precious secret technique might be even more expensive in Xiaolong region, so the lowest price might be set at more than 4 million. Huang Xiaoming clenched her fists. Her palms were sweaty and she was extremely excited. At this moment, she hoped that someone would bid again and force Yi Qinghan to auction off the Black Moon technique. All right, I understand. Yi Qinghan nodded calmly, indicating that the auction could continue. Huang Xiaoming's heart skipped a beat as she looked at Yi Qinghan's back. Her breasts rose and fell, and the translucent white robe set off her snow-white skin. I'd like to congratulate young master in advance for obtaining my favorite treasure. Supper is on me. Everyone please do me the honor. I'll take my leave now. Huang Xiaoming cupped her fists and said excitedly. Without waiting for Yi Qinghan and the others to reply, Huang Xiaoming ran out of the room. Lu Aotian shrugged and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to be treated by the supreme goddess of Owl Falling Star just because of Brother Yi. I'm afraid I'll be the envy of everyone tonight. Yi Qinghan smiled calmly, but his eyes swept across the black-clothed man at the corner of the hall. He was stunned when he saw him and muttered, Yi Lingyu? He's here too. Yi Lingyu was an emperor of the same generation as Lu Ning. He had mastered both the sword and the zither, and he was truly invincible among his peers. Back then, Yi Qinghan appreciated his talent and specially gave him some pointers, allowing him to surpass his peers in the sword Dao. He was almost on par with the older generation. Although this person's emotions are stable and he's using a bamboo hat to cover his excited face, it can't hide the fluctuation of his soul. He's also interested in the devil dragon saber. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was extremely reluctant to raise the price, or else the Fate Palace realm cultivators would definitely fight for it. Huang Xiaoming was like a hollow valley in the wind, ethereal and ethereal. She tapped the auction stage with the tip of her foot and turned around slowly, causing everyone's hearts to beat faster. I've already checked the number 7 private room. The VIP inside has enough spirit crystals to bid. Now, the price has reached 1 million spirit crystals. To be honest, it has already exceeded the price in Xiaoming's heart. I just don't know if anyone else wants to continue bidding. If not, I'll announce the owner of the Devil Dragon Saber. Huang Xiaoming's voice was like an aureole, crisp and pleasant. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals, going once. Is there anyone else who wants to continue bidding? Huang Xiaoming's eyes swept across the entire auction hall. She realized that many people were extremely excited. A bid that exceeded 1 million would only appear once in many years. Dong Fangyu and the rest were discussing with each other through telepathy. How about we join forces to get the saber? If there's really a problem, we can discuss it. If there's no problem, we can sell it again. Tang Sheng suggested. I'm afraid that if we increase the price, it'll exceed the bottom line. No one knows how much we'll get. Moreover, I don't think Lu Ning has any intention of giving up. Dong Fangyu hesitated. Let's set the base price at 1.5 million. On average, each person will only get 300,000. What do you think? Tang Sheng seemed to be determined to compete with Yi Qinghan for the Devil Dragon Saber. He was going to encourage the Fate Palace realm cultivators to buy the Devil Dragon Saber together. Don't count me in. Room 7 belongs to my grandson. The people who are bidding must be closely related to the Lulan royal family. If I joined forces with you, wouldn't I be scamming my own people? Lu Patian rejected Tang Sheng's suggestion. 1 million going twice. Are there any more bids? Huang Xiaoming asked again. There was dead silence downstairs. Everyone was waiting. More people wanted to watch the fun. Even if they were not bidding, they were excited. As expected, Yi Lingyu could not take it anymore. His cold voice pierced through everyone's eardrums. I'll bid 1.03 million. Everyone was excited. They did not expect someone to come out of nowhere. It was not a Fate Palace realm cultivator from the 4th floor, nor was it Lu Ning. It was a 4th competitor. Who is he? He didn't bid at first, but he's bidding over 1 million. He's not from the Owlfall planet, so he must be from the Owl Dragon region. Perhaps he knew Lu Ning. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while. Before he could increase the price, Lu Ning had already bid 1.05 million. 1.07 million. Yi Lingyu said in a deep voice. Lu Ning looked down at the hall and saw Yi Lingyu. However, Yi Lingyu was covered by a bamboo hat and a black veil. She could not tell who he was. However, Yi Lingyu knew Lu Ning. He seemed to know her very well. He increased the price quickly to make her suspect that he would not compromise. That way, she would give up. Lu Ning was not a saber user and knew nothing about sabers. She was bidding based on her intuition. When the price exceeded what she could afford, she would naturally stop bidding. As expected, Lu Ning hesitated. 1.30 million. Tang Sheng had the support of Dongfang Yu and another Fate Palace realm cultivator. He was going to bid 500,000 for the Devil Dragon saber. His bid caused an uproar. Huang Xiaoming was excited. She knew that Yi Qinghan would never give up. The saber could be sold for 1.5 million. It would break the record for the price of a single treasure on the Owl Fall planet. She was the one who set the record. Yi Lingyu hesitated for a while and bid again. 1.35 million. 1.70 million. Yi Qinghan was impatient. It was reasonable for Yi Lingyu to bid, but the old men on the 4th floor were gambling. They raised the price by so much. What a bastard! Oh my god. 1.70 million, and it's a mid-grade treasure. The Shen family only has 5 million mid-grade treasures. Fuck, he's too rich. He's too rich. I've learned what it means to be rich and overbearing. This guy is definitely not from the Owl Fall planet. He's probably from a big family in the Owl Fall region. Lulan is great. With such a rich family on the heaven ranking, ancient Lulan's status will rise. I'm afraid they'll surpass the other empires. Many people looked enviously at the 7th private room. Some female cultivators went crazy and began to move restlessly, hoping to attract Yi Qinghan's attention. Qin Ying's expression was ugly. He knew that Yi Qinghan had a lot of resources that were unimaginable. However, he lost this treasure bowl because he treated Qin Shi Huang badly. He could not help but feel annoyed. It was more disgusting than eating a fly. Qin Haoran's face was filled with viciousness and resentment. He whispered to Qin Ying, "Great-grandfather, since we've already fallen out with Yi Qinghan, why don't we annoy him a bit and raise the price by another 100,000? If we win the bid, we can use the saber to exchange for a better secret skill." Chapter 92. Qin Haoran didn't know what was good for him, so he instigated Qin Ying to make a move. However, Qin Ying wasn't stupid. Yi Qinghan was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Since Yi Qinghan dared to use this method on him, spending 2 million middle spirit crystals to buy a useless saber, wouldn't that destroy the Qin family? Shut up. If you dare to cause trouble again, I will expel you from the Qin family. Also, if you still want to inherit the Qin family, you will have to win your sister back and please her. Fight for the best interests of the Qin family. Otherwise, how can you inherit the Qin family? Qin Ying scolded coldly. Qin Haoran was not satisfied. He was asked to please a blind man. His strong self-esteem did not allow him to do so. However, the hall outside was in an uproar. Yi Qinghan increased the bid by hundreds of thousands of spiritual crystals, shocking everyone. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. Yi Lingyu clenched his fists. He was unwilling to give up. He had come here for this saber. He had thought that he could buy it with 1 million spirit crystals. He did not expect that he might not be able to get it even after using all the spirit crystals he had brought. His cold gaze swept past the 7th private room. An evil and cold light shot out from his eyes, and then he chose to give up. She did not know the value of the saber, so she had to give up. If the price exceeded 2 million spiritual crystals, it would hurt her foundation. She would have to give up the black dragon bone in the later stage. Tang Sheng had a strange expression on his face. He struggled and tried to instigate the crowd to increase the bid again. However, the other Life Palace realm warriors were not willing to do so. They felt that it was too expensive just because someone else increased the bid. If they bought the wrong item, it would be too late to cry. Forget it, I won't participate. Who knows why he bought the saber? The evil aura is so strong that it can change the fate of a Grotto Heaven Realm warrior. Since the death of the Green Dragon founder, the owners of the Green Dragon saber have not lived for more than 30 years. It is not worth it to hurt oneself for this saber. Dong Fengyu shook his head and said, 7 million. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the bid? If not, I will announce the owner of the Green Dragon saber. Huang Xiaoming said excitedly. Yi Qinghan is going to auction the Black Moon technique this time. The price might increase to 5 million. I suspect that some of the Fate Palace warriors might go bankrupt just to buy it. With this commission, I might be able to expand my career in the Xiaolong region. Huang Xiaoming muttered to herself. Although Aofal belonged to Xiaolong region, it was just a small planet in a corner of Xiaolong region. Unless something big happened, Xiaolong region would never know that there was such a planet with life. It was a Xiuzhe's greatest dream to leave this place. The hall was silent, but everyone's hearts were filled with anticipation. Their palms were sweaty. No one raised the price again. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Yi Lingyu had given up. As long as Yi Lingyu did not fight for the saber, Lu Ning would not fight for it as well. As for the old monsters at the Life Palace level, they would not risk their lives for the saber. But since no one is bidding, I announce that the Azure Dragon saber belongs to the customer in private room number 7. Huang Xiaoming was excited. She said to the Grotto Heaven Realm third step powerhouse behind her, bring the Azure Dragon saber to private room number 7. Huang Xiaoming came to private room number 7 once again. As soon as she entered the room, she presented a jade slip and said excitedly, Mr. Yi, please engrave the Black Moon technique on this jade slip. I'll put it up for auction in the next round. This way, it will fetch a high price, but I'll take 10% of your profits. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally obtained the Devil Dragon saber that he had been dreaming of. This saber was extremely important to him. Losing a 4th grade secret technique was nothing. After taking the jade slip, Yi Qinghan engraved the memory of the Black Moon technique into the jade slip and handed it to Huang Xiaoming. The auction house also sent the Devil Dragon saber up. A cold, evil aura permeated the air, trying to penetrate one's body. Even Lu Outyen was not used to the room's environment. Yi Qinghan casually slapped a few seals, completely sealing the iron box. Not a single bit of evil aura leaked out. After Huang Xiaoming put away the jade slip, she returned to the auction stage. Her face was flushed with joy and she did not hide it at all. Everyone, let me tell you a piece of good news. The treasures in the next round of auction might be something that no one has expected, especially those from Fate Palace Realm and 4th grade organizations. Are you ready to go crazy? Huang Xiaoming asked excitedly, trying to stir up the atmosphere. What's that? She actually used the word crazy. Is it even crazier than auctioning the Azure Dragon saber? I don't know. Seeing how excited she is, I'm guessing that the treasures have really appeared. But we won't get a share. She already said that this is the craziness of 4th grade families and Fate Palace Realm powerhouses. As the crowd discussed, Huang Xiaoming continued, the starting price of this treasure is 4 million spirit crystals. If you're not ready, you'd better get ready as soon as possible. If you miss out on this treasure, you might regret it for the rest of your life. When the Fate Palace Realm powerhouse on the 4th floor heard this, he was shocked. He knew that the Real treasure had appeared and was secretly glad that he did not waste a large amount of spirit crystals on the Azure Dragon saber. Yi Lingyu's eyes, which were hidden under the bamboo hat, suddenly widened. A treasure that was worth more than 4 million middle spiritual crystals was either a top 4th grade or a 5th grade secret technique, or a 5th grade combat weapon. He did not expect to encounter such a good thing here. Haha, the person in private room number 7 must be mad. He spent 7 million mid-grade spirit crystals on a useless Azure Dragon saber. Now that a better treasure has appeared, he must have run out of money to buy it. The Fate Palace Realm powerhouse on the 4th floor must be happy. A strong competitor has been eliminated. Many people were gloating. However, the Fate Palace Realm powerhouse was indeed glad that the person in private room number 7 was too overbearing. He increased the price as if it was water. He felt that spirit crystals were free goods. Of course, he would be happy to be eliminated. Yi Qinghan smiled. Using a top-grade 4 secret skill to attract everyone's attention was the best choice. Now, let's auction another treasure to ease the atmosphere. Hee, I'm also very excited about the next treasure. Huang Xiaoming smiled mischievously. She looked even more innocent, which made the men excited. Haha, I didn't know that the goddess has such a cute side. The 10 mid-grade spirit crystals were well spent. Everyone burst into laughter, especially the younger generation. Even the ancient Sword King was laughing. The next item is a spiritual fruit, a top-grade 4 spiritual fruit. It's rumored that the demon god fruit can help monsters evolve quickly into high-level spiritual beasts. Huang Xiaoming pulled at her clothes to ease her emotions and said excitedly, as we all know, monsters are divided into ferocious beasts and spirit beasts. They are divided into 9 grades, but the grades of monsters are not divided by strength, but by bloodline. A grade 8 divine dragon. Even if it's just a cub, it's still a high and mighty grade 8 spiritual beast. Powerful ferocious beasts have no intelligence. Even if they evolve to the Grotto Heaven realm, they're only grade 4 or grade 3. However, things are different with the demon god fruit. It can help a grade 3 ferocious beast evolve to grade 4 or even grade 5 in a short time. It can even develop their intelligence and turn them into spiritual pets with spirituality. If anyone with a monster as a spiritual pet can buy the demon god fruit, you'll instantly have a Grotto Heaven realm guardian. If you're lucky and it evolves to the Life Palace realm, congratulations. You'll be ranked among the top powerhouses in the mainland. Huang Xiaoming's voice was melodious, gradually calming the crowd's frenzy. They were now very interested in the demon god fruit. In private room 7, Yi Qinghan frowned. He realized that the parrot had run away and was getting further and further away from the auction house. It meant that it had succeeded. How was Huang Xiaoming going to auction the demon god fruit now that it had stolen it? She had introduced so much information about the demon god fruit but could not produce it. Was she not going to make a fool of herself? This incident might affect her glory as a 5th grade auctioneer. She might be demoted to 4th grade as a result. That damn bitch bird, giving me so much trouble. The auction house will definitely be furious. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself helplessly. Lu Aoyan was also very curious. The parrot had not returned since it went out. Could it have really succeeded? The powerhouses with ferocious beasts and spiritual pets all looked over, hoping to cultivate their spiritual pets into 4th grade or even 5th grade ferocious beasts. Once their bloodline evolved, it would only be a matter of time before they became spiritual beasts of the Grotto Heaven realm or Life Palace realm. Huang Xiaoming looked at everyone's interest and nodded with satisfaction. She signaled the people behind her to bring the demon god fruit up. Soon, a powerhouse at the pinnacle of the Bitter Sea realm walked out from behind with a brocade box. Huang Xiaoming smiled and took the brocade box. She carefully opened it and her expression changed. She almost threw the brocade box out. The crowd was stunned. They did not expect Huang Xiaoming to change her expression so quickly. They could not help but be curious. Many people probed with their divine sense. The contents of the brocade box appeared in their consciousness. They could not help but laugh. Even the powerhouses at the Life Palace realm laughed. Huang Xiaoming was stunned. She did not know what to do. How could such a low-level mistake appear in such an occasion? Was the auction house testing her? There was no demon god fruit in the brocade box. It was clearly a fruit core that had been gnawed clean. There was also a pile of bird poop in the box. Huang Xiaoming suppressed her anger and closed the brocade box. She forced a smile on her ashen face and said, "Hee, I was just joking with everyone to lighten the mood. You were fooled by me too, right?" Ha. Even Huang Xiaoming herself felt that what she said was very fake. It was so fake that it made people's teeth drop. However, she could only say that to avoid embarrassment. However, the face of a beautiful woman was still very big. Even if she made such a big mistake, no one criticized her. At most, they laughed kindly to relieve Huang Xiaoming's pressure. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He was deeply impressed by the parrot's despicable behavior. Not only did it steal other people's treasures, it even put down a pile of bird poop to disgust the auction house. How much hatred did it have? How much hatred did it have? A powerhouse walked out from behind the auction house and whispered into Huang Xiaoming's ear. His face turned pale and he took the brocade box away. Everyone, please calm down. Regarding the treasure of the demon god fruit, the auction house will give everyone an explanation. Now, let's begin the auction for the next item. Top grade, 4 secret skill. Dark Moon Technique. The starting price is 4 million spirit crystals. Huang Xiaoming was extremely nervous. Her palms were sweaty. She stared at the Life Palace realm powerhouses in the hall and on the 4th floor, hoping that they would resonate and respond. Chapter 93. Top level 4th grade secret skill. The Dark Moon Technique. A low chant shook the auction house. A few powerful Fate Palace powerhouses stood up excitedly. Their wrinkled faces were finally flushed, as if they had finally seen hope after a long drought. Due to their cultivation techniques, these old men would stop at the 4th step of the Fate Palace realm. They would never be able to reach the Tao Master level, which meant that they could only live up to 500 years old. 500 years might seem like a long time, but for a Fate Palace realm cultivator, a single seclusion would take up to 10 years or even decades. Those who could enter the Fate Palace realm were all over 400 years old. Not everyone was like Yi Qinghan, who broke through to the Tao Master level and became a Grand Martial Honored Warrior in just 500 years. The Dark Moon Technique was the last straw for these Fate Palace realm cultivators to reach the Tao Master level and extend their lives. How could they not be excited? Lu Padian and the rest trembled as their fingers and legs trembled. They stared at Huang Xiaoming, afraid that she was joking again. Xiaoming, us old guys have weak hearts. It's fine if you joke about the demon god fruit, but please don't joke about this matter. Otherwise, us old guys will get angry. Lu Padian stared at Huang Xiaoming and pretended to be calm as he spoke. That's right. It's okay to joke about the demonic god fruit, but you can't joke about the top-level 4th grade secret skill. Are you sure it's the top-level 4th grade secret skill, the Dark Moon Technique? Tang Xing asked nervously. That was just a small mistake. I'm a 5th grade auctioneer. How can I joke about such an important matter? Huang Xiaoming clenched her fists and was furious. She hated the bastard who ate the demonic god fruit. The demonic god fruit incident would be an indelible blemish in her auction career. If the Auctioneer Association knew about it, it would affect her auction rank. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This parrot was such a scammer. A 5th grade auctioneer had a high status in the Shaolong region, but he had been scammed by this parrot. Huang Xiaoming's reputation took a huge hit. Despite her repeated promises, the Fate Palace realm cultivators were still doubtful. After all, a top-level 4th grade secret skill was rare, especially on this small planet. Who would sell such a secret skill? I promise that if it's not the complete Dark Moon Technique, I'll compensate you double for your loss. Huang Xiaoming's aura turned cold. Her upper rank, 5 aura instantly enveloped the auction hall, silencing the crowd. With this promise, the Life Palace powerhouses, Grade 4 clans, and dynasty forces began to get restless. Many clans and sects that were on good terms with each other began to form secret alliances, preparing to seize the treasure together. The starting bid is 4 million spirit crystals. If no one bids, the Dark Moon Technique will be auctioned off at a price of 4 million middle spirit crystals. Huang Xiaoming's voice was low as she scanned the crowd. I bid 4 million middle spiritual crystals. Lu Padian suddenly shouted, breaking the clamor in the hall. Lu Ning took a deep breath. She was considering whether she should choose the top 4th grade secret technique or the ancient dragon bone. Being a 5th grade family did not mean that they did not care about top 4th grade secret techniques, especially the Mystic Moon technique. In the past, the Mystic Moon sect had relied on this secret technique to dominate the Falling Star sect for thousands of years. If it were not for the fact that they were uprooted by a mysterious powerhouse, they would definitely have the opportunity to become a top 5th grade force. The Dongfang dynasty bids 4,500,000 middle spiritual crystals. Dongfang Yu shouted excitedly. 5 million. Lu Ning understood the value of the Black Moon technique. If she could get it, the Lu clan's strength would increase. 5,300,000 middle spiritual crystals. An old Life Palace realm cultivator who had been silent at the corner of the 4th floor made his first bid. It was frighteningly high. In private room number 7, Qin Shihuang trembled and his face turned red. He finally understood how much Yi Qinghan had paid for him to buy the 5th grade secret technique. He also understood how much Yi Qinghan cared about him and how much he loved him. The Qin Emperor tugged at Yi Qinghan's clothes with his small hands and looked at Yi Qinghan respectfully. He said gently, "Thank you, master." Yi Qinghan smiled and patted Qin Shihuang's head. "What are you thanking me for? You're my disciple. If I don't protect you, who will? Don't take it to heart. In the future, you'll understand that a 5th grade secret technique is nothing. You're destined to step on the 9 heavens and look down on everyone. Yes, I won't let you down, master." A warm current gushed out from the bottom of the Qin Emperor's cold heart, and a bright light suddenly appeared in the gloomy world, illuminating his heart. His face became radiant, and the birthmark on his palm became more attractive. In the end, he couldn't control himself and held Yi Qinghan's large hand. Yi Qinghan used his ethereal force to move Qin Shihuang's arm, helping to suppress the ancient Guqin's agitation. Outside the private room, the atmosphere had reached its climax. Everyone was excited, as if they were the ones who were bidding. The price kept rising until it reached 6 million mid-spirit crystals, making Yi Qinghan a millionaire. He had entered the ranks of the rich. The Black Moon technique was related to the lifespan of many Life Palace realm cultivators. No one was willing to give it up. As more and more people joined forces, the price exceeded Yi Qinghan's estimate. Tang Xing and Dongfang Yu were unwilling to give up, so they decided to join forces. Lu Potion's face was ferocious. Ancient Lulan was not a tycoon. When the price reached 5 million middle spiritual crystals, they were already on the verge of bankruptcy. However, how could he give up the last chance to lift his lifespan? In 30 years, my lifespan will come. I've been cultivating for 500 years. Am I going to turn into a pile of dirt? I can't accept this. Lu Padian glanced at the 2 Life Palace realm cultivators behind him. Their expressions were the same as his. No one was willing to give up. In private room number 7, Lu Outyan's face was solemn. His grand elder was bidding crazily outside. It had reached the limit of what ancient Lulan could afford. If he continued bidding, ancient Lulan would be finished once the deal was struck. "Brother Yi, can I remind the Grand Elder not to participate in the auction? Lulan can't die. Otherwise, hundreds of millions of people will be involved in the war." Lu Outyan pleaded. "Do as you see fit. Just don't expose me." Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and nodded. "Thank you, Brother Yi. I'll repay your kindness 100-fold in the future." Lu Outyan was thrilled. He rushed out of the private room and ran to the 4th floor. On the 4th floor, Lu Ning took a deep breath. 6 million was more than the spiritual crystals she had brought. If she wanted to buy it again, she would have to borrow money. Yi Lingyu took the initiative to go to the 4th floor. Just as the staff of the auction house was about to stop him, a golden light flashed in his hand. A gold medallion appeared in his hand. It was engraved with the words "Zither Breaking Sword." The staff of the auction house bowed and let him pass. The gold medallion was the symbol of an imperial lord. Every imperial lord was famous in the Shaolong region. He was truly invincible among those of the same level. Yi Lingyu moved like a sharp sword piercing through the air. His black robe fluttered, startling Lu Ning. "Yi Lingyu? Are you ashamed of yourself? Why are you dressed like that?" Lu Ning was speechless. "Cut the crap. I don't think the Lu family has a top grade 4 secret skill, right? Let's work together to get this secret skill and split it when we return to the Shaolong region. What do you think?" Yi Lingyu said coldly. "How many spiritual crystals did you bring?" Lu Ning frowned. 2 million mid-grade spiritual crystals. I'm here for the saber. Unfortunately, I met someone who knows the value of the saber. It's futile to increase the price, so I gave up. Yi Lingyu said lightly. I brought 6 million spiritual crystals. If I buy it, how do we split it? Lu Ning asked. You want the Dark Moon technique and I want the Azure Dragon Saber. Yi Lingyu said without hesitation. Lu Ning was shocked. Seeing Yi Lingyu's firm tone, she knew that he was going to snatch it. Okay, I'll try my best. Lu Ning thought for a moment and said. After the two of them agreed, the price outside had risen to 6,300,000 spiritual crystals. The Fate Palace realm warriors looked ferocious. None of them were willing to give up. Lu Aotian went to the hall on the 4th floor and respectfully stood in front of Lu Padian. He twisted his voice and transmitted it into Lu Potion's mind. Ancestor, I accidentally obtained a martial skill that is not inferior to the Dark Moon technique. Ancestor, please let go of the Dark Moon technique. Lu Aotian said in a deep voice. Lu Padian stared at Lu Aotian. His eyes were like the eyes of an eagle. They were captivating and his heart was beating wildly. What did you say? When did you get it? Lu Padian was surprised and overjoyed. Patriarch, this isn't the right place. Once the auction is over, Proud Heaven will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. Lu Aotian went downstairs and Lu Padian withdrew from the bidding. The Fate Palace realm warriors were confused and surprised. After all, one less person would reduce the pressure. As soon as Lu Padian withdrew from the bidding, the 4 Fate Palace realm warriors joined forces to fight against Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu. The two juniors would only have 8 million spiritual crystals at most. How could they compete with the 4 Fate Palace realm warriors? Moreover, the Dark Moon technique was their life. They had never thought of letting go. When the price rose to 8 million spiritual crystals, Lu Ning had to give up. 8 million spiritual crystals was a huge number. Even if the price was split evenly, a Fate Palace realm warrior would pay 2 million spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. After deducting the 8 million spiritual crystals from the 8 million spiritual crystals and the 1,700,000 spiritual crystals, he was left with 5 million spiritual crystals. He still had 200,000 spiritual crystals. With a record of 8 million, Huang Xiaoming's expression finally looked better. She handed over the Black Moon Technique's secret technique Jade Slip to Tang Sheng and the others, then handed over the spirit crystals to Yi Qinghan. Congratulations, Mr. Yi. With such a high price, it seems like you should treat me to supper tonight. Huang Xiaoming entered the private room and handed over a few Qiankuan rings. She looked at Yi Qinghan. Her face was flushed and her eyes sparkled like sparkling jewels. Yi Qinghan took the Qiankuan rings and glanced at them. The spiritual crystals were piled up like a mountain. There were about 5,670,000 spiritual crystals. He did not count them and nodded. Thank you, Lady Huang. I don't have time for supper. Here are 10,000 spiritual crystals. Please accept them as my treat. Huang Xiaoming was speechless. Lu Aotian was also speechless. Huang Xiaoming was a 5th-grade auctioneer. Although she was not the most beautiful woman in the world, she could still be considered a peerless beauty. He took the initiative to accompany her for supper but was rejected. He even suspected that there was something wrong with Yi Qinghan's sexual orientation. Qin Huang saw Yi Qinghan's rejection and smiled faintly. Perhaps she and Jian Chenxue were the only ones who were happy. If the parrot were here, it would definitely mock Yi Qinghan again. Chapter 94. Huang Xiaoming looked at the indifferent Yi Qinghan and her mouth twitched. She snorted and glared at Yi Qinghan with dissatisfaction before turning to leave. Just as she reached the door, she turned back to grab the universe ring and put it away. 10,000 mid-grade crystals. It would be a waste if he didn't take it. A rank 5 auctioneer was also short on money. Idiot! Huang Xiaoming scolded and left again. Brother, such a beauty asked you out and you didn't even go. Do you like this big brother? Yi Mingxi asked curiously. Cough, cough. Lu Aotian spat out the spiritual tea he just drank. He looked at the little girl speechlessly and pretended to be angry. What does a child know? I'm serious about liking women. As for your brother, Yi Qinghan snorted. Lu Aotian smiled without saying anything. Master likes women. Mingxi, don't talk nonsense. Qin Shihuang gently explained for Yi Qinghan. That might not be the case. Jian Chenxue was dissatisfied. A beauty like her was standing here, and he didn't even say anything. It would be strange if he liked women. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Stop fooling around. We're watching the auction now. If there's anything you like, just bid. It's my treat. That's more like it. Yi Mingxi and Jian Chenxue said in unison. Qin Shihuang covered his mouth and smiled. The warmth in the room made Lu Outyan's heart throb. Such a family environment was impossible for the royal family. The princes were always scheming against each other and couldn't wait to kill each other. The auction outside continued. The treasures that appeared were very ordinary and didn't attract Yi Qinghan's attention. However, Jian Chenxue bought 12 ranked 4 blood spirit pills. The total price was 30,000 mid-grade crystals. Of course, Yi Qinghan was paying for it. The auction continued into the afternoon. Many people had already made their moves. Ling Chen bought a rank 4 ultimate treasure elixir. Wang Shizhi bought a set of sword manuals that cost more than 100,000 mid-grade crystals. Lu Ning didn't seem to be interested in other things. She was focused on waiting for the ancient dragon bone to appear. Yi Lingyu came but did not manage to buy anything. He was a little dissatisfied and did not leave. However, his gaze kept wandering around the 7th private room. Yi Qinghan noticed Yi Lingyu's gaze and sighed inwardly. This is troublesome. This little guy still hasn't given up on the demon dragon saber. The auction continued, but the great expert at the back of the auction house was looking at a brocade box with an ominous glint in his eyes. He was extremely furious. My auction house has been around for 1,000 years and has never been so humiliated. He even caused the 5th grade auctioneer, Fairy Huang, to lose face. Today, this matter must be thoroughly investigated. He was a life palace warrior in the auction house. He looked like he was in his 40s, but his aura was restrained. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Once he did, he could destroy the world. His name was Xinyuan Yu, and he was at the 3rd step of the Fate Palace realm. He was one of the most powerful beings on the Owl False Star. He was only about 300 years old, and he was 1 generation younger than Lu Padian and the others. He was considered a genius of his generation, and he had the potential to become a Dao master. Master Xinyuan, did the culprit deliberately leave this pile of bird poop and fruit core to provoke our auction house? The deacon of the Flaming Cloud City auction house frowned as he stared at the bird poop. However, he could not tell what kind of creature produced it. Whether it is or not, I can find the culprit. Xinyuan Yu smiled coldly. Inform the headquarters to send the blood leopard condor here. Its nose can smell the bird poop. Follow the smell and find the culprit. In Hua Feiyer's yard, the parrot had shrunk into a white ball. It was shining brightly and its body was crystal clear. Its vigorous qi and blood emitted a faint pressure that was getting stronger and stronger. This feels so good. I'm going to evolve. My bloodline is awakening. I'm an ancient mythical beast, the devouring spirit parrot. I'll return to my peak and create glory again. The parrot twitched all over and allowed the bloodline power to transform its body. A large amount of unused spiritual energy was quickly absorbed and its bloated body began to shrink. Once again, it returned to its slender form. However, its body was emitting rich spiritual qi like a 5th grade spiritual medicine. As time went by, the parrot's qi became more and more sacred. Its spiritual qi was extremely rich and its wretched qi became holy. Its big eyes were like vast stars that could steal people's souls. At this moment, it did not know that the auction house had already launched an investigation and was determined to catch the culprit. Gurgle, the blood filled with spiritual qi, was comparable to a 4th grade or even 5th grade spiritual liquid. It was very tempting. Perhaps its blood had the ability to break the limit of the Fate Palace realm. It could turn something rotten into something magical and reignite one's qi and blood. The parrot began to devour the spiritual fruits in its yin and yang ring. These were all taken from the Hua family. At this moment, it was as if these spiritual fruits were worthless. One bite after another, it absorbed the spiritual qi within. The pit of the spiritual fruits filled the entire room. The parrot's control of spiritual energy seemed to be more precise than Yi Qinghan's. As it transformed its body, It evolved its bloodline. Its strength continued to rise, and so did its realm. After half an hour, it was equivalent to a 9-star expert of the Bitter Sea realm. It was even more powerful than Yi Qinghan. I'll break this damn taboo of spiritual beasts and become a supreme overlord. I'll unify the demon god realm. Ha! The parrot was smug. Even if its bloodline had evolved, it could not hide its unparalleled wretchedness. At the auction, Huang Xiaoming finally found her groove. She slowly forgot about the demon god fruit incident and prepared to auction off the last few real treasures. The next treasure is the spine of an ancient creature. Rumor has it that it's the bone of an 8th-grade mythical beast, the Azure Dragon. Whether it's true or not, I can't tell. However, I can tell you that this bone is definitely the bone of a 5th-grade mythical beast or above. Huang Xiaoming signaled the person behind her to take out a 1-meter-long jade box. It emitted a purple glow and was full of vitality. Yi Qinghan instantly sat up straight and looked down at the haul. He stared at the brocade box made of jade. His blood boiled as if he could feel the ancient Azure Dragon's bloodline and pressure. The bone of an ancient mythical beast, even if it was only a 6th-grade one, was extremely powerful. It was definitely a treasure for the body refining school. This 1-meter-long bone could be used to refine an arm, making the arm comparable to a 5th-grade or even 6th-grade combat weapon. Wherever it went, everything would be swept away. Lu Ning's emotions began to stir. She thought to herself, it seems that the information is true. If I can buy this bone, I can refine my body. This is my flaw. Once it's fixed, I'll be in the top 100 among the 1,000 kings of the Owl Dragon region. In the entire Owl Dragon region, among the 1,000 kings, the top 100 could definitely fight across realms. A Bitter Sea realm cultivator could fight a Grotto Heaven realm cultivator. A Grotto Heaven realm cultivator at the 1st step could defeat a Grotto Heaven realm cultivator at the 4th step. Ling Chen and Wang Shizhi were only at the bottom of the kings. Without opportunities, the Dao Master realm was the top and could not advance. Yi Lingyu's eyes were like stars. He tore off his bamboo hat and his handsome face was like jade. His whole body was filled with a domineering and fierce aura. He had transformed into a peerless, ferocious sword. What? You also want the ancient Azure Dragon bone? Lu Ning frowned and asked. Of course. I'm determined to get it. At most, I'll sell my martial arts. The accumulation of these years is enough for me to get this bone. Yi Lingyu said coldly. Humph, let's wait and see. Lu Ning's aura changed. Her icy aura kept people thousands of miles away. However, Yi Lingyu did not move at all and did not care at all. Xin Yuanyu, who was at the back of the auction house, came out personally. He used the supreme power of true origin to run through his body. His palm exerted force and moved the jade lid. An ancient aura instantly covered the auction house. The golden bone was filled with the ancient Tao and contained the power of the universe. The aura was so strong that the Bitter Sea realm experts in front coughed up blood and flew backward. Just a glance at it made them feel that their blood was surging and about to explode. The speed of their heartbeats was unbearable. This bone had existed for at least 3,000 years. The golden bone was still flowing with the aura of jewels and treasure. Purple gas was entwined around it, and it contained a rich essence of life. Yi Qinghan stood up with a bang. His eyes turned into a sharp lightning that traversed time and space and fixed on the bone. It was about 1/2 meter long and as thick as an adult's arm. It was rich with the power of a dragon, and its majesty was overwhelming. It was as if an ancient Tao master had descended. This is the spine of an adult boundless flood dragon. It has 2,000 years of cultivation and is at least of the 6th rank. It actually appeared on Owlfall Star and there is only half of it. How strange. Yi Qinghan quickly identified the origin of the bone and was puzzled. The boundless flood dragon was the descendant of the ancient Azure Dragon. The ancient Azure Dragon and the flood dragon that wanted to evolve into a dragon gave birth to a creature with a supreme bloodline. At birth, it was classified as a 6th-rank demon beast and could evolve on its own. It was extremely powerful. Once it reached adulthood, Its cultivation would be close to the immortal gate realm and far surpass the human great revered martial artists. Shen Yuan clenched his teeth and his hands trembled. He tried to suppress the fear in his heart. Once again, he put the boundless flood dragon's bone into the jade brocade box. After quickly sealing it, he took deep breaths and his back was drenched in sweat. The others looked at each other. This bone was frightening to look at from afar. Even the Fate Palace realm experts were trembling with fear. Who would buy it? What could they do with it? The Fate Palace realm experts gave up immediately. However, the Regal realm experts were excited, including Ling Chen and Wang Shizhi. Their eyes flashed and they wanted to bid. Yi Qinghan sneered. Even if the price was 10 million spiritual crystals today, no one else would be able to get the ancient Azure Dragon's bone. The starting price is 2 million spiritual crystals. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 spiritual crystals. Huang Xiaoming scanned the crowd and realized that most of them were not prepared to bid. Her heart sank. Since Lu Ning did not make the first bid, Yi Lingyu naturally did not either. He was waiting for the end. If no one made a bid, the two of them would definitely find someone else to bid and split the ancient Azure Dragon's bone equally. There was no need to fight. Ling Chen swallowed his saliva. The starting price was 2 million spiritual crystals. That was all of his wealth. This was the reward and fortune he received from the regal battle. Was he going to use all of it to buy the ancient Azure Dragon's bone? Hearing the price, Wang Shizhi smiled bitterly. He could only give up. The Wang family would not go bankrupt to buy this treasure for him. The hall was silent for a long time. Still, no one made a bid. Huang Xiaoming frowned. Yi Qinghan came to the window and looked at the jade brocade box. He said calmly, "Since no one is bidding, I'll throw a brick to attract the jade. I'll bid 4 million spiritual crystals." The low voice made everyone break out in cold sweat. They looked at private room number 7 and were shocked by Yi Qinghan's generosity. Chapter 95. Do you know him? Where did this rich guy come from? Lu Ning asked with a frown. I don't know him. He's a stranger. He's only 2 stars of the Bitter Sea realm. He's not an emperor, Yi Lingyu said with certainty. Do you still want to compete? Lu Ning wasn't willing to give up. She had come aggressively and was determined to obtain the ancient dragon bone, but she had been stunned by Yi Qinghan's heroic spirit. She didn't even have the confidence to bid anymore. Why should we compete? Treasures belong to those who are fated. If he can buy it, he must have the ability to keep it. We don't have to compete with him in terms of crystals. We can just snatch it. Yi Lingyu smiled coldly. Murderous intent rushed out of his body, intimidating those in the Fate Palace realm. I feel that he's very strange. He seems to have some relationship with me. Even if he snatched my treasures twice, I can't feel any hostility towards him. Are you sure you don't know him? Lu Ning frowned. She felt that part of her memory was missing. She tried hard to recall but could not remember who Yi Qinghan was. Yi Lingyu looked through the window and carefully stared at Yi Qinghan's side profile. His heart shook and his fingertips trembled. He knocked on the railing and cried out, "His temperament is like his." Yi Qinghan used his divine sense to explore the 4th floor. He was careful not to be discovered by Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning. However, he heard their discussion and frowned. After obtaining the Devil Dragon Saber and the Ancient Dragon Bone, the first thing he had to do was increase his strength and refine his body. He had to raise his realm to 5 stars of the Bitter Sea realm, cross the Heart Demon Sea, and watch the evolution of chaos. Otherwise, he would not be able to fight against these emperors. Especially Yi Lingyu, who had received his guidance and was invincible in the way of the saber. Huang Xiaoming glanced at private room 7. She was still angry at Yi Qinghan and said in a muffled voice, "Is there a higher price?" This was an ancient dragon bone that was above the 6th grade. The best equipment for forging weapons can be sold for at least 7 million in Xiaolong region. Huang Xiaoming was obviously trying to cause trouble for Yi Qinghan, so she deliberately revealed the true value. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as he looked at Huang Xiaoming's unreasonable behavior. His breath sank, and a sharp sword shot out from his eyes, drilling into her eyes. Huang Xiaoming shuddered, feeling as if she had fallen into an ice cave. She could not help but think to herself, this guy is only at the 2 stars of the Bittersea realm, but I am at the Grotto Heaven realm. He can actually make me feel fear. His soul is so strong. Under Huang Xiaoming's instigation, there was a commotion in the auction, but no one was willing to bid any higher because they had no use for this item. Putting aside the fact that they did not have enough spirit crystals, even if they did, what use would it be to buy it? 4 million going twice. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Huang Xiaoming avoided Yi Qinghan's gaze and looked up at the 4th floor. She realized that Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan had no intention of increasing the price. She knew that the ancient dragon bone could not be auctioned for a better price. 4 million going thrice, sold. The ancient dragon bone goes to private room 7. Huang Xiaoming did not dare to continue provoking Yi Qinghan, so she made the final decision. Yi Qinghan had obtained 2 of his favorite treasures. He sat down contentedly and waited for Huang Xiaoming to deliver the ancient dragon bone. Sure enough, Huang Xiaoming personally came over with the jade brocade box. She threw the box in front of Yi Qinghan angrily. Here, take it and give me the spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan was speechless at the anger of such a little woman. Huang Xiaoming was already a few decades old. Although to cultivators she was like a teenager among mortals, she could not throw a tantrum like this. After all, she was a 5th-grade auctioneer. Take it, thanks a lot. Yi Qinghan kept the jade brocade box and threw out 4 Qingquan rings, each filled with 1 million mid-grade spirit crystals. You're welcome. Idiot. Huang Xiaoming glared fiercely at Yi Qinghan, took the Qingquan rings and turned to leave. Yi Qinghan, Lu Aotian laughed loudly. To be able to see Huang Xiaoming like this trip was not in vain. Silly brother, are you treating me to supper tonight? If you're not free, why don't you give me 10,000 mid-grade spirit crystals? I can go eat by myself. Jian Chenxue joked. Yi Qinghan calculated carefully. He had less than 1.5 million mid-grade spirit crystals left. It was enough to support him until he reached the 5th star of the Bitter Sea stage. Just as Yi Qinghan was relaxing, his soul suddenly shook, as if he had been enlightened. The qi and blood in his body boiled and his vital essence roared, wanting to rush out of his body. His long hair and clothes fluttered without wind. What's going on? How did my soul and vital essence suddenly strengthen so much? Yi Qinghan was shocked. He tried to suppress the boiling blood and recall his vital essence, but he found that his realm was also changing, completely unconsciously rising. Boom! Yi Qinghan felt that the blood in his body was like the yellow river bursting its banks, wanting to break through the sky. In the blink of an eye, his realm had rushed into the 3rd star of the Bitter Sea stage, and it was still growing. Lu Aotian looked at Yi Qinghan exuding a majestic aura and quickly closed the doors and windows, sealing the private room. Yi Qinghan suddenly felt that his and the parrot's perception had strengthened a lot. Even though they were a few miles apart, he could feel that the parrot was transforming. Did the evolution of the parrot's bloodline make me transform? Yi Qinghan was shocked. He finally found the reason why his realm was soaring. Middle 3rd star of the Bitter Sea stage. His vital essence was invincible. His soul pierced through the shackles and broke through the bottleneck. Immediately his vital essence turned into a dragon, running through his body and swimming through his limbs and bones. His strength instantly increased by several times. Lu Aotian and Jian Chenxue looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at a god. This kind of breakthrough was too strange. The breakthrough was inexplicable and too fast. In just half an incense stick's time, he broke through 2 bottlenecks. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He did not expect that he would break through this time because of the parrot. However, the growth of his own cultivation did not shock him too much. He was shocked by the parrot's current strength. He could clearly feel that it had transformed by more than 1 level. How old was the demonic god fruit that cheap bird ate? How did it become so strong all of a sudden? Yi Qinghan frowned. He felt that the auction house would not let it go so easily. Yi Qinghan sat on pins and needles. He wanted to leave as soon as possible, but at this time, he would have to face Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu. This was not what he wanted. Is there a separate passage to leave this room? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. There is a special passage. It is set up for some people who do not want to reveal their identity. However, they need to apply to the auction house and pay 100 mid-grade spirit crystals. Lu Outyan said seriously. Help me apply, I want to leave this place. Yi Qinghan said hurriedly. Lu Outyan saw that Yi Qinghan was in such a hurry, he nodded and walked out. Soon, Lu Outyan brought a Grotto Realm expert. The Grotto Realm expert received the 100 mid-grade spirit crystals and quickly opened a secret compartment. A deep and dark tunnel appeared in the wall. Where does this tunnel lead to? Yi Qinghan was very vigilant and asked in a deep voice. It leads outside the city to the maple forest? The Grotto Realm expert glanced at Yi Qinghan and could not help but be surprised. He did not expect that the person who was so generous was actually a 17 or 18-year-old youth. Son, let's go. Yi Qinghan casually threw 100,000 mid-grade spirit crystals to Yi Mengxi and let her play as she pleased. Then he led Qin Shi Huang into the tunnel. The Grotto Realm expert sealed the tunnel and quickly left the room. Yi Lingyu's eyes flashed as he sensed that an aura was missing from the 7th private room. He lowered his head and said to Lu Ning, the owner of the 7th private room has left through the tunnel. Go ask the auction house where the tunnel leads to. I will wait for you outside. Yi Lingyu could only sense Yi Qinghan's aura. Qin Shi Huang was sitting in the room. Even Yi Qinghan's soul might not be able to sense him. Previously, he had evaded Yi Qinghan's divine sense. Therefore, Yi Lingyu could not sense Qin Shi Huang's aura at all. After Yi Lingyu finished speaking, he put on his bamboo hat and left the auction house. He was not interested in the final treasures. Lu Ning hesitated for a moment. In the end, her greed overcame her vague premonition. She was determined to obtain the Azure Dragon Bone. After a while, Lu Ning arrived outside the auction house and met up with Yi Lingyu. She said in a serious voice, the tunnel is in the maple forest outside the city. Let's go. Yi Qinghan had a strong sense of danger. He carried Qin Shi Huang and sprinted all the way. He even used the divine dragon steps. Their figures moved like stars, leaving behind afterimages in the tunnel. Even Qin Shi Huang was carried into the air. Half an hour later, Yi Qinghan appeared in the maple forest with Qin Shi Huang. However, he discovered that two powerful auras were speeding over from Flaming Cloud City. Their figures spun and the air currents collided with each other, forming a terrifying whirlwind. Heaven's might surged, as if foretelling that a great battle was coming. Dark clouds covered the sky, covering the sun. Two divine senses locked onto Yi Qinghan at the same time. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. 5 years ago, he had personally nurtured these two little fellows. He was very familiar with them. Even if his cultivation had dropped to the 4th star of the Bitter Sea stage, he would not lose to them. However, Yi Qinghan did not want to fight. He hugged Qin Shi Huang, mobilized the vital energy in his body, and stomped on the ground. He leapt dozens of meters high, transforming into a sharp sword, and broke through the air. Wanna leave? Not so easy. Leave behind the Azure Dragon Saber and the Azure Dragon Bone, and I will spare your life. Yi Lingyu snorted, the wings on his back suddenly spreading out. Like a great rock spreading its wings, an eagle soared into the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the maple forest was blown by the wind, turning into waves. Wave after wave, they crazily surged into the depths. How could a king-level expert from Xiaolong region not have a 5th grade flying wing? Lu Ning's toes touched the ground, leaping into the air. The pure white wings behind her were like an angel, chasing after Yi Qinghan into the distance. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan completely relied on his physical body. Using the divine dragon steps, he could crush a mountain with one step. In a flash, he had traveled thousands of meters. The forest on both sides flew backwards. The sky was covered by dark clouds, and heavy rain poured down. It was as if the sky was about to collapse. The surging heavenly might caused all beasts to die. Not even a bird could be seen. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The heavy rain soaked Yi Qinghan's clothes. Qin Shi Huang hid in Yi Qinghan's embrace, closing his eyes and spreading his divine sense in all directions. Master, there is a cliff 500 meters ahead. Below the cliff, there is a cave 30 meters deep. Qin Shi Huang quickly reminded. Chapter 96. The rain continued to pour and the wind blew. The rain covered the sky and the sun, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning's vision was blocked, and they could only rely on their consciousness to lock onto Yi Qinghan. But the aura of Yi Qinghan was faintly discernible and extremely difficult to capture. When Yi Qinghan was about 300 meters away from the cliff, his aura was once again restrained. The fluctuations of his true yuan were reduced to the minimum. With a sudden acceleration, like a great bird spreading its wings, he directly jumped into the cliff. Boom! Yi Qinghan's eyes were like the sun. According to the information provided by the Qin Shi Huang, he quickly found the entrance of the cave. Taking out his heavy berserk blade, he stabbed it into the stone wall below the entrance of the cave. Go! Yi Qinghan lifted the Qin Emperor casually and sent him into the cave. Soon after, he grabbed the entrance of the cave and jumped into the cave with a somersault. His frenzied saber smashed a rock into pieces, and he fell down with a loud crash. Yi Qinghan indicated for the Qin Shi Huang to retreat. He forcefully cut out a huge piece of rock from the cave and directly blocked the entrance of the cave. Yi Qinghan and the Qin Shi Huang both restrained their aura at the same time. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning lost track of Yi Qinghan at the same time and could not help but be shocked. That person is clearly at the bitter sea stage. How can he have such a fast speed? How can he evade the tracking of my consciousness? Yi Lingyu landed on the top of a mountain, his wings protecting his body. His eyes were like an eagle's, incomparably sharp. He scanned the entire mountain range, but still could not find any trace of Yi Qinghan. Lu Ning followed closely, her entire body emitting a mist. A faintly discernible yuan qi aura kept the rainwater half a meter away from her body. She was still as ethereal as an immortal. Her phoenix eyes were flowing with light, staring at the mountain range. He should still be nearby. To think that he could evade the detection of our consciousness. Lu Ning frowned, finding it somewhat inconceivable. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu still did not discover that there was a Qin Shi Huang beside Yi Qinghan. Together, they patrolled the area. Spreading out their wings, they flew past the cliff. A black shadow flashed, and their consciousness swept past the cave. Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi Huang retracted their auras. Yi Qinghan was like a rock, without any signs of life. As for Qin Shi Huang, she was one with the heavens. If no one saw her, she would not exist. No matter how strong one's soul was, it would be difficult to discover them. After a long while, the Qin Emperor said in a low voice, "Teacher, they are searching toward the southwest." Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly and took out a gem to illuminate the cave. He found that it was just a natural small cave with no passageway inside. The space was only about the size of a room. He nodded and said, "Okay, help me guard. If anyone comes near, wake me up. I want to condense the Azure Dragon arm." The Qin Emperor pursed his lips and nodded gravely. He was quite happy that he could help Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and took out the demonic dragon saber. The murderous aura spread out as he dashed out of the cave. The aura inside the cave was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. The murderous aura kept drilling into the bodies of Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi Huang, as if it was corroding their bones. Humph! The Qin Emperor let out a soft humph. Strands of golden light emitted from her body and blocked the murderous aura. The birthmark of the divine zither in her palm burst out, and strands of divine might spread out in all directions. If the cave had not been sealed, it would have alerted the people outside. Yi Qinghan didn't resist the attack of the murderous aura. On the contrary, he took the initiative to absorb the murderous aura to refine his body. His entire body turned crimson red, as if he were being roasted by fire. His vigorous energy and blood boiled and roared, trying to break free from the shackles of his body. Blue veins popped out all over his body, tearing his clothes apart. The squirming of his blood vessels could be seen clearly. The brutal murderous aura swam all over his body. His bronze-colored body turned dark red, and strands of black gas appeared on it. It looked extremely horrifying. The demonic dragon saber seemed to be very excited. That spirit inside was awakening. Attracted by Yi Qinghan's energy and blood, it took the initiative to absorb his blood. The blood gushed out, breaking open the web between his thumb and forefinger and rushing toward the edge of the demonic dragon saber. After the demonic dragon saber absorbed the blood, it let out a dragon roar that shook all directions. As if it was alive, it flew up on its own and penetrated into Yi Qinghan's sea of bitterness. It turned into a heavenly dragon and swam in the sea of bitterness. It crazily absorbed the murderous aura in the sea of bitterness, causing the sea of bitterness to surge with thousands of waves. It was majestic and majestic. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and didn't care about it. He focused on mobilizing his vital essence to heal his injured body. His healed skin became crystal clear, and his perfect body didn't have a single flaw. In the endless sea of qi, his vital essence was completely consumed. The new energy became incomparably pure, and its quality increased by more than a level. Rolling vital essence flowed through his limbs and bones. Yi Qinghan took the opportunity to consolidate the 4 stars of the Sea of Bitterness. He prepared to break through the 5 stars of the Sea of Bitterness and enter the Sea of Bitterness realm. He wanted to comprehend the other side of the Sea of Bitterness and the evolution of chaos. The little person in his Sea of Consciousness was cultivating the violent saber technique and the extreme divine dragon steps. It had evolved into a true 5th-grade martial technique. Although it was small, its words and actions followed. It was connected to the great Tao of heaven and earth. When it attacked, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. In Yi Qinghan's Sea of Consciousness, the little person was firm and unyielding. His clothes fluttered and he stood proudly in the wind. He held the violent saber in his hand and looked down on all living beings. He waved his saber and was invincible. It was like when he was at the peak of the great revered realm. The storm in the Sea of Consciousness whistled past. The saber split the heaven and earth, as if it had opened the shackles of heaven and earth. A white light illuminated the dim universe, causing Yi Qinghan's body to tremble. It was as if he had been enlightened. He instantly became much clearer about the cultivation technique that he had been confused about. If the heavens obstruct me, I will open the heavens. If the earth binds me, I will crack the earth. Darkness cannot stop me. Light will come. The universe of chaos, the myriad of Tao, all will be under my saber. The little person seemed to have his own soul. He pointed his saber at the sky and laughed arrogantly in the firmament. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up and his veins popped out. He clenched his right hand and the violent saber appeared. Even without the support of the saber core, the violent saber still emitted a cold aura and cold light. Yi Qinghan inserted the saber core into the saber hilt. He formed a seal with his palms and controlled the violent saber directly into his Sea of Consciousness to nourish it with his soul. Groan. The moment the violent saber appeared in his Sea of Consciousness, the demon dragon saber seemed to have sensed something as if its dignity had been challenged. It turned into an ancient dragon and swept across the mountains and rivers, suppressing the violent saber. Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect the demon dragon saber to be so resistant to the violent saber. This situation was like 2 children fighting for attention, or more like a battle between demonic beasts fighting for territory. The demon dragon saber regarded his Sea of Consciousness as its own territory and would not allow a second saber of the same level to appear. The demon dragon saber was ruthless and tyrannical. It was on the verge of exploding. They did not give way to each other and directly collided. The violent saber rolled up the Sea of Consciousness, causing Yi Qinghan's Sea of Consciousness to become chaotic and almost collapse. Fuck! Yi Qinghan was furious. If his soul was not at the level of a great revered martial artist, it was very likely that he would have been killed by the 2 weapons fighting for attention. Separate, Yi Qinghan's soul covered the sky and covered the earth, suppressing the violent saber and the demon dragon saber. However, he realized that the demon dragon saber did not listen to his orders and was incomparably tyrannical. The azure dragon saber's body exploded with a terrifying evil aura as if it would not give up until it achieved its goal. It rushed towards the 7-foot Violent Saber again. Violent Saber was not to be outdone. With the support of the saber core, the cold aura tore through the restrictions and rushed towards the demon dragon saber again. The impact caused Yi Qinghan to have a splitting headache. Damned thing. This was the first time Yi Qinghan had encountered such a situation. Although he was somewhat flustered, he was still a great revered martial artist. He quickly calmed down and mobilized the miniature person to take the initiative to attack. The miniature person in the sea of consciousness flickered and turned into a peerless great revered martial artist. It waved its small hand and grabbed at Violent Saber. Come! A deep voice accompanied by the laws of heaven and earth, filled with an inviolable will, filled with tyrannical power, rushed into the miniature person's hand and became extremely majestic. It was as if the real Yi Qinghan had returned. With Violent Saber in his hand, he could fight against thousands of Dao sovereigns. How dare a puny demon dragon saber be so impudent? Yi Qinghan's voice was deep and hoarse. The miniature person also spoke at almost the same time, bringing along a supreme aura to suppress the demon dragon saber. The demon dragon saber's demonic dragon aura stagnated. Its dragon eyes looked down at Yi Qinghan's eyes, as if it was looking into the endless universe. A trace of fear and panic appeared in the dragon's eyes. The origin of heaven and earth is under the Violent Saber. Endless demonic spirits, those who do not submit will die. Demon dragon, since I dared to buy you, I have the confidence to suppress you. If you dare to be impudent, I will crush the demon dragon saber and completely suppress you. I will forge a new demon dragon saber, and you will no longer be the saber spirit. Yi Qinghan pointed his saber at the demon dragon's head and warned coldly. Roar! The demon dragon was unwilling to submit. It wanted to suppress Yi Qinghan. Its body twisted, but it did not dare to act recklessly. It seems like you are courting death. Yi Qinghan's aura sank. The miniature person raised his saber and suppressed the azure dragon. Violent Saber God style. Whoosh! The saber split the heavens and the earth. The sea of consciousness, mountains, and rivers lost their vitality. The sea of bitterness surged into the sky. The sharp Violent Saber God drew countless figures and suppressed the demon dragon from all directions. Boom! The miniature person drove the Violent Saber God style and crashed into the demon dragon's body. The friction created towering flames. The entire sea of consciousness seemed to be on the verge of burning. Yi Qinghan wrapped his soul and retreated to the side. The sea of consciousness had completely turned into a battlefield. The saber slashed out, and it seemed to have slashed out a path of reincarnation. The path was filled with endless eerie white bones that could steal one's soul. Roar! The demon dragon cried out in pain. Its body flew backward and fell for thousands of meters. Golden divine blood poured out and burned when it came into contact with sparks. The miniature person's aura exploded. It was as if the god of war had descended. Its pair of eyes could steal one's soul, and it contained an indestructible will. It slashed out again. Have a taste of my self-created saber art. 10,000 origin laws are under this saber. This move is called soul snatching. The miniature person held the Violent Saber God style with both hands. Its aura became sacred and inviolable. Its robe fluttered in the wind. It raised the saber, and the power of heaven and earth was mobilized. The saber's edge flashed, and the sea of consciousness shone brightly. Lightning intersected and blasted out from the depths of the sea of consciousness. Soul snatching with a saber. Slash. The extreme divine dragon step was performed to the limit. Countless figures filled the sea of consciousness. The 7-foot Violent Saber God style evolved into a 10,000-meter-long golden saber. It slashed down from the end of the wilderness. Its aura was indestructible and could destroy everything. The spirit of the demon dragon saber was shocked. It did not dare to face the saber's edge. It turned back into the demon dragon saber and stood in the air obediently. It emitted a holy light and took the initiative to recognize Yi Qinghan as its master. The Violent Saber God style stood less than an inch away from the demon dragon saber. golden light shone in all directions. Even if it did not attack the demon dragon saber, it still had the power to steal one's soul. It was worthy of the name soul-snatching. Chapter 97. The power of soul-snatching was vast and mighty. The little man in the sea of consciousness was majestic. The golden light in his eyes spread out, intimidating everyone. The spirit of the demonic dragon saber submitted and recognized Yi Qinghan as its master. After the soul contract was completed, the man and the saber became one. The two sabers stood side by side in the sea of consciousness, guarding the sea of sufferings. Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttered even though there was no wind. The muscles all over his body returned to normal. His skin was translucent like white jade. Pure and holy energy flowed on the surface of his skin, making him look like a flawless gem. Taking a deep breath, he felt his soul grow stronger instantly. He spread his consciousness out of the cave and found that Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning had not given up yet. They were like the heavy rain that wanted to drown the owl false star. The Qin Emperor was very alert, fearing that one careless mistake would put Yi Qinghan in danger. He was very tired at the moment, his face pale. "My son, take a rest. I will set up a formation. They won't be able to find this place in a short time." Yi Qinghan threw out dozens of mid-grade spiritual crystals and arranged them at the entrance of the cave in a regular pattern. They sealed the cave completely. No matter how powerful their consciousness was, they wouldn't be able to figure out that they were hiding in the mountain. "Teacher, these two are like ghosts. They have been guarding that mountain peak. When can we go back?" The Qin Emperor asked worriedly. "They will leave by tomorrow at the latest. These people are very strong and confident. They won't believe that I have stayed in front of them for a night. They will think that I have escaped from this place and will leave soon," Yi Qinghan said lightly. The Qin Emperor nodded. He believed Yi Qinghan's words without a doubt. Yi Qinghan looked around the cave. It was 6 feet tall and 7 to 8 meters long. There was no spiritual energy. He took out hundreds of mid-grade spiritual crystals and set up a powerful 5th-rank spirit gathering formation. The spiritual energy in the cave was very dense. The spiritual energy of the mid-grade spiritual crystals almost materialized and kept entering the bodies of the two. Cultivate and meditate first. Completely integrate the secret technique, soul-absorbing roar, into your Zither Dao. I need to condense the Azure Dragon arm. It might take some time. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Okay. The Qin Emperor was quite obedient. He took out his guqin and started playing the heavenly music. His plucking of the guqin was soundless. It was extremely eerie. Yi Qinghan took out the jade brocade box and activated the berserk technique and the ancient demon dragon saber. He was prepared to suppress the divinity emanating from the boundless flood dragon spine. He removed the seal of the formation and slid it over the jade lid. The golden bone was filled with the patterns of the great Tao. It radiated divinity in all directions, and the aura of jewels and treasures filled the air. The entire cave was dazzlingly bright, and the terrifying pressure was enough to crush a person's bones. A monstrous divine power burst out from Qin Shi Huang's palm, and the divine zither came out on its own, exuding a faint divine aura. It formed a shield of upstanding qi around Qin Shi Huang's small and thin body, blocking the might from the bones of the vast flood dragon and keeping her still. Yi Qinghan's blood vessels expanded, and his vigorous qi and blood were about to gush out. The muscles all over his body twisted and deformed, and his bones gave off cracking sounds. Yi Qinghan was emotionless. Sweat dripped from his forehead like rain. He reached out his hand to grab the bones of the vast flood dragon without using any of his Zhenyuan. Whoosh! As soon as his right hand touched the bones of the vast flood dragon, his arm, which was as hard as steel, broke open. Blood splattered in all directions, dyeing the golden bone red. The ripples of the patterns became even clearer. Sizzle! The flesh of Yi Qinghan's right arm was quickly shattered by the divinity emitted by the bones of the vast flood dragon, turning into flesh and blood that danced in the air. The divine light of the vast flood dragon spread out, enveloping the eerie white bone. Humph! Yi Qinghan's eyebrows tightened. The piercing pain from his soul did not make him retreat. This was not the most painful moment. When he truly condensed the bones of his right arm, that kind of heart-piercing pain was like 10,000 ants eating away at his heart and bones. Without a terrifying willpower, how could he withstand it? Plink, plink, plink. Yi Qinghan's iron bones had no flesh and blood. He forcefully grabbed the bones of the vast flood dragon, and the bones in his hand melted rapidly. This kind of bone was broken and then condensed again. This cycle of pain caused his face to turn hideous, and the ominous glint in his eyes turned into that of an ancient ferocious beast. Yi Qinghan let out a low groan. He mobilized his Zhenyuan and formed an arm that wrapped around the vast flood dragon's bone. He took the initiative to absorb the divinity and essence within the bone. He absorbed the essence, divinity, and patterns into his right arm, and then urged his vigorous qi and blood to reconstruct his arm. Ka. The bones were constantly broken and reconstructed, absorbing the essence of the vast flood dragon's bone for his own use. This was the method of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm. It was completely built on self-mutilation and painful self-torture. Without a terrifying willpower, it was absolutely impossible to accomplish. Even if Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu had obtained such a bone, they would not use this method to condense their corporeal bodies. They would have to ask their seniors for help. Those who dared to use this method to condense their corporeal bodies were less than 1 in a million people. Those who were willing to use this method to condense their corporeal bodies were mostly people who had a blood feud. They would go further and become stronger. Qin Shi Huang looked at Yi Qinghan and felt his pain and distorted soul. He played the heavenly zither, and the melody turned into the sound of nature. It circled around the cave, gathering and not dissipating. Yi Qinghan's eyes were blurred, and his consciousness was in a mess due to the pain. The effect of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm was getting worse and worse, and the speed was getting slower and slower. He was jolted awake by the melodious sound of the zither. The sound of the zither turned into a supreme precious medicine, healing Yi Qinghan's soul. It then turned into a spiritual force that wrapped around his arm, soothing the piercing pain. The beautiful sound of the zither that was hard to find in this world became the most powerful divine medicine, causing Yi Qinghan's eyes to flash with brilliance. He sped up the circulation of his vital essence, and the speed of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm was much faster. This kind of condensation required the accumulation of time. Even though the vast flood dragon had fallen for thousands of years, the energy it contained was still immeasurable. Outside the cave, dark clouds covered the sky and covered the sun. Heavy rain poured down, as though the dome of heaven had been broken. The wind and rain raged, and the cold air was pressing. The gloomy weather caused all the beasts to return to their nests. The prowess from the depths of the sky intimidated the entire Owl-Fall star, foreshadowing the arrival of a storm that would destroy the world. Time passed slowly, and it was already nighttime. The sky was already covered by dark clouds, and now it was so dark that one couldn't even see one's fingers. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu glanced at the mountain unwillingly. They were irritated by the vile weather, and could only retreat and return to Flaming Cloud City. Qin Shi Huang felt the two cold auras leaving the mountain. His perfect face revealed a smile that was enough to make the world lose its color. Such a child could only be described as a fairy. The strings of the zither vibrated and spread out in a melodious manner, turning into specks of divine light that sprinkled down and enveloped Yi Qinghan's corporeal body, reducing his pain by more than half. Yi Qinghan's brows finally relaxed, and his love for Qin Shi Huang increased. She was gentle and kind, treating everyone with gentleness like water, all for the sake of receiving love and care. Such a child would be pitied by the heavens, but unfortunately, she didn't receive the pity of her family. Time was like water, pouring down like a flood from the outside. It poured down the broken cliff, forming a boundless waterfall that flowed down from the cliff. In the middle of the night, Qin Shi Huang's face was pale. He was still playing the zither, wanting to reduce Yi Qinghan's burden. However, he didn't have enough vital essence, and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He was still unwilling to give up. Sunrest. Use the spirit crystals to recover your vital essence and soul. I can handle the rest. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and dull as he said with heartache. Okay. Qin Shi Huang had no choice but to give up playing the zither, and the divine zither returned to his palm. The bone in Yi Qinghan's right palm began to dim. A large amount of essence, veins, and divinity were absorbed by Yi Qinghan. His right arm was formed again, and it gathered countless life essence, glowing like a celestial jade. In the auction house of Flaming Cloud City, the bidding for the last few treasures had reached a climax. Everyone was red in the face and they wanted to fight. The auction of the 109 treasures continued late into the night. Huang Xiaoming was in pain but happy at the same time. After today's auction, she would count the money until her hands cramped. The last treasure. The finale, the 5th grade Tao Master Sacred Elixir. As long as a 4th step Fate Palace cultivator has it, the probability of passing the Tao Master Lightning Tribulation will increase by 30%. What does 30% mean? With it, you are half a step into the Tao Master realm, and you are only half a step away from a 1,000-year lifespan. Huang Xiaoming's voice was rhythmic and charming. Boom, the railings on the 4th floor were shattered by the Fate Palace cultivators, which showed how excited they were. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning, who had returned to the auction house, were not interested in the Tao Master's sacred elixir. As emperors, they were confident that they could survive the Tao Master lightning tribulations. Even if they were lacking, the weapons given by their families would help them survive the lightning tribulations. Their purpose of returning was to keep an eye on Lu Aotian. It seemed that they had not given up on Yi Qinghan's treasure. However, what they did not know was that Yi Qinghan had already subdued the devil dragon saber and was absorbing the essence of the ancient dragon bone. Tao Master's sacred elixir, 2 million middle grade. Each bid must be at least 100,000 middle grade. The 5 Fate Palace cultivators on the 4th floor no longer had to hide the price announced by Huang Xiaoming. There was only one sacred elixir, and they could not cooperate. It would belong to whoever got it. 3 million. Lu Potion's face was ferocious. He knew that Lu Aotian had obtained a skill that was better than the Dark Moon technique. Now that he had the sacred elixir, he was determined to enter the Tao Master realm. 300. Tang Sheng suddenly stood up and was about to raise the price. Suddenly, after a loud bang, the roof of the auction house was smashed through. A broken body was placed in the hall, crushing more than 10 bitter sea cultivators to death. The hall was in a panic, and there was an uproar. The auction house cultivators and Fate Palace cultivators were furious, but when they looked, their faces changed. It's Brother Shueyu. Isn't he guarding the Demon Valley continent in the Demon Valley? Lu Padian looked at the middle-aged man who was bathed in blood. His ribs were broken and his right chest was pierced. He could not help but be shocked. Master Shueyu, a Fate Palace cultivator at the peak of the 3rd step. He was the backbone of the Owl Falling Star. How could the crowd not be shocked when he was severely injured? Demon Valley. Defense. Broken. 6 Fate Palace cultivators have all died. We are ashamed to face Taoist Qinglong. Master Shueyu's face was ferocious. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Lu Padian and the others were in a panic. The cultivators in the hall were noisy, and some even shouted in fear. They had lost the dignity of a cultivator. Xin Yuanyu personally came out and put his hand on Master Shueyu's pulse. He found that his breath was weak, and his flame of life could be extinguished at any time. Without hesitation, he took out a supreme grade elixir. It contained supreme power, enough to revive the dead. It was priceless, but he did not feel distressed. He directly put it into Master Shueyu's mouth. It melted in her mouth. Close the city gate. With Flaming Cloud City as the base, build the 2nd line of defense. From today on, no one is allowed to leave Flaming Cloud City. Everyone is under the command of the Fate Palace cultivators to defend against the beasts in the Demon Valley. Xin Yuanyu shouted. Chapter 98. Xin Yuanyu's voice was solemn and commanding. No one dared to disobey him. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu's faces darkened. The Demon Valley's defense had been breached. This meant that the entire Owl Falling Star was in danger. If Flaming Cloud City was breached as well, countless beasts would trample Owl Falling Star and countless lives would be lost. Although they were all emperors, they weren't of much use in the face of the Demon Valley's beast tide. If they stayed here, their chances of dying were no different from others. In the 7th private room, Lu Outyan's veins were bulging as he broke out in cold sweat. His nervousness made Yi Mingxi curious. "Big brother, what's wrong? Where is the Demon Valley?" Yi Mingxi's voice was crisp, but it couldn't calm Lu Outyan's panic. The Demon Valley was 3,000 miles northwest of Lulan. Further west was the Demon Valley continent. Billions of beasts lived there. There were some as strong as the Fate Palace realm and some as weak as warriors. Bitter Sea realm and Grotto Heaven realm existences were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. The two continents were incompatible, but because of the Demon Valley as a natural barrier, the two continents were prevented from killing each other. Apart from the beast tide that occurred once every 1,000 years, the rest of the time was for both sides to recuperate. There was no need to think too much. The Demon Valley's defense line was where half of the continent's Fate Palace realm experts were gathered. There were as many as 7 of them and sometimes more than 10. The Grotto Heaven realm army had hundreds of people. They were unknown and only wanted to protect Owl Falling Star like the Qin Long Taoist. Now that the Demon Valley's defense line had been breached, 6 of the 7 Fate Palace realm experts were dead and 1 was heavily injured. It seemed that the Grotto Heaven realm army had been wiped out. The reason why Lu Outyan was so panicked was because the Demon Valley's defense line had been breached. The next stop was ancient Lulan. Then, it would be the Middle State continent. No one could escape. Without a large cloud-piercing ship, even Fate Palace realm experts would die here. After an hour, Shueiyue Honored Sir woke up. Seeing Xianyuan Yu and the rest, she gritted her teeth and sat up. She said in a low voice, "Quickly prepare. They will attack Flaming Cloud City by tomorrow. If Lulan is breached, Owl Falling Star will be destroyed. First, tell me, how did the Demon Valley's defenses break? 7 Fate Palaces, 300 Grotto Heavens, and 1,000 embittered seas. With such a defense, my ancestors have guarded the demonic valley for dozens of generations without any mishaps. Why would they be annihilated here?" Xianyuan Yu was furious and questioned coldly. Xianyuan Yu was qualified to question and be angry because this defense was rotated. He had also been on the battlefield and guarded the Demon Valley. His contributions were no less than Venerable Shuei Yu's. Lu Padian and the others were also furious and confused. They couldn't understand this. Xiao Yunxing couldn't accept this result either. Venerable Water Moon looked guilty. She was at the 3rd step of the Fate Palace realm and had lived for more than 400 years. "We have let down the Azure Dragon Taoist. He sacrificed his life to kill 4 Fate Palaces of the same level, but he only exchanged it for 500 years of survival for us." Venerable Water Moon's tears flowed down her face. She was extremely guilty. Looking at the anxious faces of the others, she said painfully, "There were suddenly 7 or 8 Fate Palace realm 4th grade super ferocious beasts in the Demon Valley. 2 of them were 4th grade flying god-slaying eagles. They suddenly attacked and caught us off guard. The formation was shattered as soon as it was activated. The 7 of us risked our lives and only managed to stop them for a day. The 6 of them risked their lives to send me out of the Demon Valley so that I could inform you in time. I also risked my life to break out of the encirclement. When I got out, 2 Fate Palaces had already died on the spot and were torn apart by the ferocious beasts. Thousands of strong cultivators gathered at the auction house, but all of them were as pale as paper. Even Xianyuan Yu was extremely shocked. The appearance of 7 or 8 Fate Palace realm ferocious beasts was enough to determine life and death. Move out now. Activate the defenses of the Flaming Cloud City and inform all the headquarters to support the Flaming Cloud City. Whoever dares to disobey will be killed even if they are the royal family of the empires." Lu Padian, as the first emperor of Lulan, gave the order and the Flaming Cloud City instantly became busy. "Move all mortals below the Blood Ignition realm out of the Flaming Cloud City. Let them escape to the east of Lulan and make room for the reinforcements. A few Fate Palace realm cultivators moved out and began to forcefully recruit strong cultivators. Whoever dared to disobey would be suppressed. Even Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu would not be able to escape. After tomorrow, no one knew if they would be able to survive. To be able to keep these two Grotto Heaven realm emperors was equivalent to a Fate Palace realm cultivator. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu were speechless. Xiao Yunxing was going all out now. He did not care about the forces behind them. If they were to die, they would die together. With the two of them, they might be able to repel the beast tide. In fact, most of the people knew that the two of them wouldn't be of much use. After tomorrow, the beast tide would begin and the entire Flaming Cloud City could be destroyed. This place would become a fiery hell and most of the corpses would be devoured. In Hua Feiyer's yard, the parrot was curled into a ball. Its feathers were pure white and shimmering. A faint aura of superiority spread out. No matter how heavy the rain was, it would not wake up. It wasn't until dawn that the parrot stretched lazily. Its vulgar gaze swept around, and when it realized that Yi Qinghan hadn't returned, it couldn't help but be surprised. TSK, now that I am stronger than him, should I think of a way to take back the contract? The parrot's eyes shone as it looked at the heavy rain. It stared at the sky and tried to sense Yi Qinghan's location. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the heavy rain was still roaring. Even at noon, Yi Qinghan still hadn't returned. The parrot was a little restless as it went against the heavy rain and rushed towards Fire Cloud City. However, it realized that there was a purple halo above Fire Cloud City. The heavy rain suddenly stopped and was completely blocked outside. It touched it lightly and felt weak. However, it could not fly out. The parrot could not help but think too much. Could it be that the auction house wants to capture me? Is there a need to make such a big fuss just for the demonic god fruit? The parrot was curious and sneakily flew towards the auction house. However, it realized that a large number of experts had rushed out and were all rushing towards the surrounding walls of Flaming Cloud City. Damn! The parrot trembled and almost fell from the sky. It turned around and rushed towards the city gate. It squeezed through a small gap under the city gate. The rain was still pouring outside. The parrot emitted a faint zhenyuan and blocked the rain. It sang loudly and flew into the distance. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Countless flying-type beasts covered the sky. The eagles soared into the sky and tore through the shackles with their sharp claws. The earth trembled and a rumbling sound resounded through the clouds. Endless flood roared and surging heavenly might shattered the universe and shrouded Flaming Cloud City. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom boom boom. The powerful flying-type beasts took the lead and covered the parrot from the sky in the blink of an eye. Countless powerful beasts appeared below. Some of them were extremely rare. There were beasts that were more than 10 meters tall. They were like mountains. Their fangs crushed rocks and ancient trees. Everywhere they passed, everything was razed to the ground. Aya! Oh my God! The parrot trembled in fear as if it had seen a ghost. It fell to the ground and didn't dare to fly anymore. It ran towards Flaming Cloud City with its wings spread open like a duck. Beast tide. Oh my God, I actually encountered a beast tide. These damn bastards, why didn't they stay in the Demon Valley? Why did they come to the central region? The parrot shouted exaggeratedly. It didn't remember that it was a spirit beast. It had high intelligence and never thought of itself as a savage beast that only knew how to bite. Therefore, when it saw so many savage beasts, how could it not be afraid? The parrot followed the path it came from and entered Flaming Cloud City again. It trembled and ran towards the other courtyard. Scared me to death. Why are there so many savage beasts? Just as the parrot escaped, countless beasts behind it covered the sky. The flying-type beasts tore at the enchantment seal of Flaming Cloud City with their sharp claws. Roar! All kinds of unknown beasts and flying beasts came one after another. Some of the beasts were shattered by the formation and turned into a bloody mist that dyed the sky red. Flaming Cloud City was completely dyed red. Above the enchantment, corpses and bones fell like rain. It was nauseating. Flaming Cloud City fell into panic. Whether it was the Blood Ignition realm or the Fate Palace realm, Their faces were all pale. Many mortals who didn't manage to escape in time were scared to death. 2 fourth-grade Fate Palace god-slaying eagles tore through the sky with their sharp claws. Their huge wings covered the sky and their bodies were 5 meters long. When they spread their wings, they were more than 10 meters long. Boom! The sharp claws shattered the confinement of heaven and earth and landed on the enchantment seal. Countless palaces and houses in Flaming Cloud City collapsed and many mortals died on the spot. Other than despair, there was only despair. No one would be able to escape from this calamity. Roar! A furious roar shook the mountains and rivers. The giant beast that was dozens of meters tall was sinister and terrifying. Its fangs were like fourth-grade spirit weapons, indestructible. Its mountain-like forelimbs lifted up a small mountain and smashed it onto the walls of Flaming Cloud City. The sky above Flaming Cloud City shone brightly. The recoil was enough to kill a bitter sea realm beast. But more mortals in the city were killed. Even the Blood Ignition realm cultivators were implicated and coughed up blood. Defend. Fight to the death. If the city is breached today, no one can escape. The entire Owl Falls star will be destroyed. Lu Patian roared, shaking the mountains and rivers. He personally went into battle, bursting with a monstrous amount of vital energy to strengthen the enchantment seal. For your loved ones behind you, you may die honorably. The human race will not forget you. Xianyuan Yu formed a seal with his palms and followed closely behind. At this moment, no one was an outsider. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu were forced to stay until now. It was too late for them to leave. If they didn't defend with all their might, they wouldn't be able to escape even with the cloud-piercing ship. Yi Mingxi's face was pale. She stood in front of Wang Shi and stared at the sky. Seeing the blood rain falling from the sky, her little hand shook and her soul power surged. The fourth-grade spirit sword behind her trembled and wanted to break through the sky. Hey, little master, where did master go? What's the situation now? Why are there so many damned beasts? The parrot discovered Yi Mingxi and flew over, landing on Yi Mingxi's shoulder. Lu Outyan looked at the parrot's surging qi and blood. Its cultivation had also broken into the Grotto Heaven realm. He sighed inwardly. Brother Yi left in the middle of the night. Now that the Demon Valley's defenses have been broken, he's still outside the city. I'm worried that something will happen to him. Chapter 99. Flaming Cloud City fell into chaos. Countless ferocious beasts trampled over the mountains and rivers. The sharp claws of the ferocious beasts could tear apart the rocks, but they could not tear apart the protective barrier of Flaming Cloud City. The barrier emitted a 7-colored holy light that intertwined with the blood mist. It was eerie and terrifying. Some of the stronger birds and ferocious beasts crashed into the barrier, but the recoil caused them to break into pieces. Thousands of Fire Qilin army cooperated with the Bitter Sea experts to defend the 4 sides of the city walls. Many people had already died from the recoil, but the moment the people in front died, the people behind followed closely behind. No one hesitated. Tang Sheng and the others took turns to rest, desperately defending the barrier. They had to defend until the great empires and noble families of the central continent came to help. Yi Lingyu was wrapped in a black veil, a black battle blade appeared in his hand. The cold light was threatening as he stood side by side with Lu Ning. There is no other way. There are 2 god-slaying eagles outside. We cannot escape. We can only fight. Yi Lingyu frowned, the cold blade in his hand whistling. Below the cliff, Yi Qinghan was awakened by the eerie atmosphere. He looked at the sky through the cracks of the rocks and found that countless ferocious beasts were endless. They swept up the pressure of thousands of miles and constantly pounced here. His heart could not help but sink. Beast tide. Yi Qinghan quickly reacted. The beast tide was not limited to the owl falling star. The entire universe was facing such a threat. Back then, Owl Warstar had to work hard for decades and join forces with several martial venerables to eliminate the rank 5 vicious beasts. There were countless ferocious beasts as strong as 3rd grade to 4th grade ferocious beasts. With Yi Qinghan's current battle strength, going out would be suicide, unless he could obtain a few 6th-grade precious bones like the old dragon bone. Yi Qinghan looked at the half-condensed bone in his hand that had become dim. He took a deep breath and no longer cared about the outside world. At least it was safe here. Throwing out a large number of spirit crystals, he strengthened the spirit-gathering formation again. He said to the Qin Emperor in a serious voice, "Son, break through to the next realm. Adjust your state to the best. There will be a great battle soon. We cannot escape." The Qin Emperor already knew the situation outside. His face was heavy as he nodded lightly and said, "Master, I am about to break through to the bitter sea stage. Maybe I can use the divine zither better." Yi Qinghan was very satisfied. He nodded and said, "Pay attention to increasing the purity of your soul and maintaining the purity of your true essence. I'd rather refine it several more times. More strength means more hope of escaping. I estimate that Flaming Cloud City will be able to hold on for at most 5 days before the city is breached. At that time, the entire Owl Falling Star will be in trouble, and we will not be able to stay out of it." Yi Qinghan's right arm shone with a golden light. Spirit light fluctuated as if it had become transparent. His entire upper body emitted majestic energy fluctuations. The Qin Empress cultivated bitterly, her eyes tightly shut. She used her vast spiritual power to consolidate her realm and constantly attacked the bottleneck of the bitter sea stage. The birthmark of the divine zither moved restlessly, divine light flowing, constantly moving around. Her young body, from head to toe, was bathed in the divine light emitted by the divine zither. Qin Shi physique became completely devoid of any impurities. He had completely turned into a supreme grade divine stone. His pure red blood had turned into a faint golden color, like a precious medicine. Even a drop of his blood was priceless. In the future, the Qin Empress would know how fortunate it was for her to be able to become Yi Qinghan's disciple. Otherwise, she could have been refined into a divine medicine. Because the spiritual power and medicinal properties in her body were even stronger than the parrot. Yi Qinghan felt the divinity and energy emitted from the body of the Qin Empress. He slightly opened his eyes, staring at the face of the Qin Empress. He sighed inwardly, "I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. The zither immortal crimson demon physique tests one's human nature. It tests the human nature of the people around you, and it tests one's own human nature. If possible, I would rather you be an ordinary person. Perhaps you would be able to see the flourishing world and the various states of the world." Subsequently, Yi Qinghan continued to refine the azure dragon arm. His right arm glistened and seemed like it could be broken with a flick of the finger. In reality, it was as strong as a 5th-grade demon blade and could break a 4th-grade spiritual sword with one punch. Yi Qinghan was breaking through, transforming. But in the demon cave in the southeast, a young man dyed in blood was like a mad demon. With a ferocious expression, he stared at the cave that had been sealed for who knows how many years. The demon cave. The cave was engraved with 3 chilling words that could steal one's soul. It was covered in dust, but it still couldn't conceal the vicissitudes of life. In front of the cave, there were several dilapidated palaces, which were covered by weeds and ancient trees. If one didn't enter this ancient forest, it would be impossible to discover the existence of such an ancient cave. Haha, as long as the heavens don't kill me, Xian Wuyu. The demon cave, the strongest 5th-grade demonic sect of the ancient Shaoyun star. After disappearing for 10,000 years, it was actually discovered by me. Yi Qinghan, you destroyed my qi. I will make you pay 1,000-fold. At this moment, Xian Wuyu's face was deathly pale. His dantian had been pierced, and his qi had been destroyed. If not for the 5th-grade spirit vibrating wings protecting him, he might have fallen to his death. But after surviving a great disaster, one is bound to have good fortune in the future. He actually discovered the cave of an ancient demonic sect. Xian Wuyu held his ancient sword, his steps sluggish. He crawled along the broken palaces towards the demon cave. The resentment in his heart supported him as he walked step by step into the deep and dark demon cave. The dim light revealed a sinister tunnel. Spider webs covered the tunnel, and a terrifying devil statue stood at the entrance of the cave. Xian Wuyu didn't stop. Instead, he looked at the statue and laughed maniacally, as if he had gone mad. Even the heavens don't want me dead. Yi Qinghan, what can you do to me? Wait for me. The day I come out of seclusion will be the day you suffer. Leaning on his ancient sword, Xian Wuyu walked step by step into the depths of the cave. It took him 2 hours to walk through the 1,000-meter-long tunnel. The moment he exited the cave, the entire space opened up like a paradise. There wasn't a single trace of demonic qi. The immortal spiritual trees and grass were extremely dense. Weeds grew everywhere, and the ancient buildings exuded a strong pressure. No one dared to blaspheme. There seemed to be no other living things here other than the spiritual trees and spiritual grasses. There wasn't even a bird. Xian Wuyu looked around and fixed his gaze on a black ancient tree. It was only about 3 meters tall. The ancient tree was extremely old, as if the demonic qi had touched it, turning the leaves dark black. There was a dark golden fruit that was bigger than a fist. It pressed down on the branches, making it so that one could touch it with one's hand. This is demonic heart fruit. A demonic heart fruit above the 5th grade. A demonic heart fruit that can heal even if one's sea of qi is broken. Ha! The heavens don't want me dead. Xian Wuyu sneered and walked to the demonic heart tree. He reached out and plucked the demonic heart fruit. Looking at the demonic heart fruit filled with Tao patterns, his body trembled. After Xian Wuyu obtained the demonic heart fruit, he sat cross-legged on the ground and swallowed it in a few mouthfuls. The demonic heart fruit turned into streams of demonic energy that spread to his limbs and bones, rushing towards his broken sea of qi. Rays of light rolled around his body, transforming his mortal body. Xian Wuyu's injured body was quickly healed, and the impurities in his body were removed. Demonic light flickered as his treasured body actively absorbed the spiritual qi from the outside. Boom, boom, boom. His originally dim and lifeless qi and blood no longer had any life force. At this moment, it seemed to be boiling, roaring crazily. His blood vessels expanded, and his veins popped out. His meridians were expanded by Zhen Yuan, becoming tough and powerful. A layer of dark impurities appeared on the surface of his body, giving off an incomparably foul smell. The spirit grass around him turned yellow and withered. Xian Wuyu gradually calmed down. After swallowing the demonic heart fruit, not only had his body transformed, even his soul had been sublimated at this moment, becoming pure and clear. He sneered at his previous actions, but his desire for revenge had not changed. After 6 hours, the demonic heart fruit had transformed Xian Wuyu's body into an incomparable treasured body, the demonic spirit treasured body. At this moment, Xian Wuyu finally understood what it meant to be truly invincible within the same realm. He also understood how those so-called elites of the Owl False Star were laughable. He also understood why he had lost to that stupid bird and had his sea of qi broken by Yi Qinghan's sword. Xian Wuyu came to the side of the clear stream and washed up. He became handsome and elegant. He changed into a set of black clothes. His black hair danced in the wind, making him look like a god descending to the mortal world. His deep eyes were like the boundless stars, sparkling with light. He was extremely beautiful. The corners of Xian Wuyu's mouth curled up slightly, and a good-looking smile hung on his devilish lips, looking unrestrained and unrestrained. Xian Wuyu had completely transforming to the point where he could truly become Yi Qinghan's enemy. Clenching his sword, he stepped into the main hall of the Serene Devil sect to search for the true inheritance of the Serene Devil Cave. No one knew how the tyrannical 5th-grade Serene Devil sect had disappeared. Xian Wuyu searched for so long, but he did not find a single corpse. He could not help but be shocked. In the Serene Devil sect's treasury, many books had already rotted away. Xian Wuyu gently moved, causing a breeze to sweep up, and the rotting books dissipated with the wind, causing him to feel pity. Even if these ancient secret techniques were only 3rd grade, they were still more powerful than 4th grade secret techniques. It was a pity that they no longer existed, completely disappearing in the long river of history. Xian Wuyu quickly went up to the third floor and found that it was incomparably spacious. There was only a sinister ancient demonic sword hanging in the room, the scabbard engraved with the ancient words Evil Nether Sword. A famed ancient sword. It can cut through iron like mud, and can trigger the supreme Evil Nether Sword Dao, allowing one to become one with the sword. Haha, ancient inheritance. I've obtained the ancient inheritance, the evil nether mantra that goes with the evil nether sword. Once I find it, I can crush Yi Qinghan. No matter how peerless his speed is, he won't be able to escape from my world-destroying sword. Xian Wuyu could no longer suppress his excitement. His blood boiled, and his demonic qi surged. He reached out and the evil nether sword seemed to be waiting for him, directly rushing into his hand. The evil nether sword shook lightly in Xian Wuyu's hand, and the sword qi shattered his arm. The sword hilt automatically absorbed Xian Wuyu's blood and began to recognize him as its master. Everything went so smoothly that he almost could not control himself. The sword had not even left its scabbard, but it was already so powerful. When the evil nether sword left its scabbard, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The Tao of the sword boomed, and the evil nether mantra was used, the entire world sank. When the ancient nether demon sect unified Owl Falling Star, it was already so powerful. After tens of thousands of years, many people might have forgotten about this powerful sect, but some ancient powers still remembered it like it was yesterday. In the instant that Xian Wuyu and the evil nether sword recognized each other as its master, Yi Qinghan seemed to sense something. His eyes opened, and a cold light shot out from them. When one's soul was cultivated to the martial saint realm, they would be able to sense danger in advance. Yi Qinghan's Tao heart trembled, and waves of danger came from his soul. He thought that it was because of the beast tide, and couldn't help but frown. Chapter 100. The wind was howling and snow was falling, turning Lulan City into a vast expanse of whiteness. However, it was tainted by the blood mist and turned into blood-colored snow. It was like a vision of heaven and earth. Countless corpses fell from the sky. The city protection formation covered a radius of hundreds of miles. It was built with spiritual crystals and human lives. After a whole day, the 3,000 Fire Qilin army soldiers were completely annihilated. They were torn apart by the aftershocks and died tragically on the spot. The Bitter Sea Realm cultivators who came to participate in the auction were forcefully pushed onto the battlefield. At this moment, they revealed their true nature. Many of them did not even need the orders of the Fate Palace Realm cultivators. As long as there was an empty space in front of them, they would use their lives to block it. The longer they blocked it, the longer their clansmen would live. They might even be able to wait for reinforcements. However, some of them were unwilling to be used as cannon fodder. They wanted to escape but were suppressed by the Fate Palace Realm cultivators and died even more tragically. Since they were going to die anyway, they might as well die heroically. At least they could fight for a chance for their descendants. Tragic. This was the only way to describe Flaming Cloud City. There were corpses everywhere. Most of them were bleeding from their orifices. Their skin was cracked and their pupils were dilated. They were unwilling to die. The ferocious beasts outside the barrier were the same as before. They crashed into the barrier without any regard for their lives. The sharp claws of the god-slaying eagles shook the barrier. Every crash would kill hundreds of ferocious beasts and some human cultivators. There were 9 powerful 4th-grade Fate Palace Realm ferocious beasts. 2 of them were the god-slaying eagles, and the last one was a violent bear that was more than 10 meters tall. The 4th-grade Fire Python Flood Dragon was more than 30 meters long. It had the potential to transform into a dragon. Its silver scales were even more captivating against the white snow. The Flying Leopard was nearly 100 meters tall. It was named the Flying Leopard because of its shocking lethality. There was a wild tiger, a rhinoceros, and 2 other strange beasts. They were completely different. Their fangs were like divine weapons. Most of the ferocious beasts had no intelligence, including the 4th-grade Fate Palace Realm ferocious beasts. They only knew how to charge with brute force. The rhinoceros was even more powerful. It was at least 10 tons heavy. When it ran, it used its rhinoceros horn to crash into the city protection formation. The entire flaming cloud city was shaking. The 9 level 4 Fate Palace ferocious beasts launched another attack. Heaven and earth trembled as the aftershock of the formation shattered countless ferocious beasts. Blood and bones flew everywhere as they blotted out the sky. The area outside Fire Cloud City had turned into an endless hell as corpses littered the ground. The inside of Flaming Cloud City was incomparably tragic. Hundreds of Bitter Sea stage experts died tragically on the spot because of this collision, their souls shattered. The houses near the city walls collapsed, crushing many mortals to death. Ancient gods, come back and save our poor people. Green Dragon Holy Man, please come back. Descend with your monster-slaying Azure Dragon Saber. Countless commoners knelt and begged. They were helpless and powerless to resist. They could only pray to the heavens, to fate, and to the gods. Children wept, women and children broke down. The elders all rushed to the city walls, waiting to buy some time for their families behind them. They faced death calmly, without any complaints or regrets. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning weren't natives, but because they had the hearts of kings, their auras filled the air and they sighed sadly. Many strong mortals took out bows and arrows, preparing to die on the battlefield, even if it was useless. Lu Outyan's clothes were piercingly cold as he frowned. The spiritual sword in his hand constantly hummed, and the anger in his eyes was self-evident. The mortals who died tragically were his people. His children were the future pillars of Lu Lan, but they were suffering endless pain here. Why don't you give me 3 more years? I have the great reincarnation sword art. I can definitely reverse the situation. Lu Outyan was unwilling. When he was at his proudest moment, such a disaster occurred. Who would be willing to accept it? Yi Mingxi calmed down and sat cross-legged on the ground. She used a large number of spiritual crystals to cultivate, causing the vital energy in her qi si to surge even more. The more power he had, the more chance he had. This was what Yi Qinghan taught her. She deeply remembered every word that her brother taught her. Jian Chenxue looked at the quiet Yi Mingxi, took a deep breath and said to the parrot, "You guard Aunt Wang. I'll see if I can break through to level 4 Bitter Sea stage again." Jian Chenxue also sat down quietly and used the mid-grade spiritual crystals to forcefully break through. His face revealed a painful expression. The number of people in Flaming Cloud City decreased rapidly. Soon, it would be the turn of these elites to fight personally. As cannon fodder, no one could escape this catastrophe. Ling Chen, Wang Shizhi, Di Kong, Tang Chu. Some people were pale and their guts were torn apart. Some people were cold as ice, unmoved by the tragedy outside. Lu Ning glanced around and noticed Yi Mingxi. A 5-year-old 3 Bitter Sea stage. She could not help but be shocked. Such a genius could not appear in Xiaolong region. Lu Ning came to Lu Outyan's side and asked seriously, "Brother Lu, who is this little girl?" Lu Outyan was stunned. He was afraid that Lu Ning would have some thoughts about Yi Mingxi. He immediately explained, "She is Yi Mingxi, my cousin. What can I do for you?" "How old is she this year?" Lu Ning looked at the immature Yi Mingxi and asked curiously. "A little over 5 years old, not even 6. Lu Outyan answered honestly. "Lu Ning." Yi Lingyu looked at Yi Mingxi. His eyes also showed a touch of gentleness. For a 5-year-old child to cultivate to such a level, her talent was probably enough to scare people to death. She could crush all the Emperor-level experts. "Let her follow me later. If the city is breached, no one will have a chance. I will try my best to take her away." Lu Ning's aura burst forth, making it impossible to refuse. She stared at Lu Outyan and said with a commanding will. Lu Outyan hesitated for a moment and nodded. It was not that he was irresponsible, but if the city was breached, he would definitely die. Letting Yi Mingxi follow Lu Ning would at least have a chance of survival. "Trouble. If Flaming Cloud City is breached, I will do my best to help you leave," Lu Outyan said solemnly. Then there was silence. It was as if heaven and earth had quieted down. These bastards seemed to have stopped attacking the city. The parrot stared at the void and saw a large group of flying beasts disappearing and descending outside Flaming Cloud City. However, it saw more and more beasts gathering. It immediately shouted, "Not good, they are accumulating power. We are doomed. There are more and more beasts. Next time, Flaming Cloud City will be breached. These brainless beasts, do they have nothing better to do?" The parrot seemed to have forgotten that it was also a flying beast as it cursed loudly. Everyone looked up. It was as the parrot had said. Their hearts sank. Night fell and the snow was still pouring down. The beasts were gathering. The Fate Palace beasts were accumulating power, preparing to attack the city the next morning. The silent world was terrifying. It was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. The aura of despair and death filled the sky. Apart from the falling snow, there was nothing else in the sky. The city was filled with helpless cries. The smell of blood was nauseating. Many mortals hugged their children and looked at the sky helplessly, waiting for death to come. Lu Padian and the rest were patrolling. Looking at the tragic situation in Flaming Cloud City, they felt helpless. These were the people of Lu Lan. "Everyone, keep your spirits up. The reinforcements will definitely arrive tomorrow. As long as we can survive tonight, we will be the victors." The Fate Palace warriors encouraged the crowd and gave out countless vital elemental pills and other elixirs for free. All the spiritual crystals were taken out as well. At this moment, wealth was no longer a concern. Every bit of strength was good. Many people were stuck at a bottleneck due to the lack of spiritual crystals and elixirs. However, with the Fate Palace warriors giving out free elixirs and spiritual crystals, they were able to break through quickly. After midnight, almost half of the people were breaking through. Their morale was high. Jian Chenxue had broken through to 4-star Bitter Sea and his strength had improved. He was more familiar with the ethereal fairy steps. He stood up gently and took a deep breath. He realized that Yi Mingxi was still cultivating. There were not many people who could still calm down and cultivate at this time. Yi Mingxi's body was emitting a milky white light. Her terrifying soul fluctuation was like that of a Grotto Heaven Realm warrior. It shocked many warriors and even attracted the attention of Fate Palace warriors. Yi Mingxi cultivated the Extreme Sky Yuan technique, which relied on her soul. Without a strong soul power, it was impossible to use the Extreme Sky Yuan technique to the extreme. Gugugu. The crowd could even clearly hear Yi Mingxi's blood boiling. Her soul fluctuation was getting stronger and stronger. It was so strong that Lu Outyan felt the pressure increase. What a pity for this genius. If she missed today, I would have taken her as my disciple. Venerable Shueyu walked towards Yi Mingxi with a pale face and shook her head. The Fate Palace warriors knew that the situation was not good. There was a 90% chance that the Owl Falling Star would be destroyed. There were not many humans left. Even Fate Palace warriors like them could not escape, let alone Yi Mingxi. There were 9 4th-grade Fate Palace beasts outside the city. There might be more powerful beasts coming tomorrow. As for the humans, there were only 6 Fate Palace warriors. At most, there could be 2 more reinforcements. However, Venerable Shueyu was still severely injured and did not have much combat power. It was almost foreseeable that the tragedy after the city was destroyed tomorrow would be more than 10 times worse than tonight. Most of those who died today were in the Blood Ignition Realm and Bitter Sea Realm. Those who died tomorrow would be the younger generation of geniuses, Heavenly Insight Realm and even Bitter Sea Realm. Time flowed like water. Yi Qinghan, who was still in the cave, increased the speed of condensing. His right arm began to emit a faint pressure as if it was alive. With a slight shake, 10,000 pounds of force gushed out. At full strength, it could definitely kill a Heavenly Insight Realm beast. The next day, the boundless flood dragon's bones turned into fine powder. Yi Qinghan moved slightly and the dragon bones disappeared. He stood up calmly, and one could clearly see the difference between his left and right arms. Yi Qinghan summoned a green robe and put it on. His aura became dignified and inviolable. His black hair was as black as ink and fell to his shoulders. A lock of hair covered half of his face. His chiseled handsome face was perfect and flawless. He raised his right hand and his palm faced upwards. The demon dragon saber appeared in his hand. An evil aura entered his body, refining his golden body and turning him into a demon. With a slash of the saber, the cave was split open. The Qin Empress slowly opened her eyes. 2 Guqin seals shot out from her eyes and completely blocked her vision. She had broken through and entered the Bitter Sea realm. Although she was only 1 star of the Bitter Sea realm, no one knew how terrifying the Qin Empress's real combat power was. All the Emperor-level warriors might not be able to defeat her. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.